and welcome back to HistoryFlights, your tour through contemporary and historical politics in video games. And to the Delta Papers, a mini-series discussing how dictatorship rises and falls while streaming the BioShock games. I'm your host, DC Shepard, they, them, theirs to all transphobes. In my first stream of BioShock 2, linked in the description, I reflected on resilience and determination in the face of adversity with my job at Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and family in Africa threatened, while criticizing President Pedophile, herein referred to as Pedo, and the Supreme Court by comparing this regime to the fallen dictatorship of Andrew Ryan in the city he founded called Rapture, and the cult of Sophia Lamb that arose to replace him in the 1960s in the universe of the BioShock games. In this stream, I will go back a bit to the immediate aftermath of the Rapture Civil War with BioShock 1 in 1960 to elaborate more on Ryan's background in the history of the fall of Rapture, expound further on my theory that all dictators are cats, consolidating ascended tin pot stopped. I will also be connecting this to artistic messaging by the Renaissance patrons and the Napoleons, as well as the censorship of American media and the Epstein files. I was also going to comment on the rise in popularity of Ibrahim Traoré, interim president of Burkina Faso since 2022, as compared to the other alliance of Sahel states, coup belt dictators, the complicated legacy of Muammar Gaddafi, and the 2021 democratic protests in Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, and their king's crackdown on them in agreement with Pedo to take deportees. That is a very complex and sensitive topic, given I have an African fiancé. So it will instead be part of the final Delta Papers livestream as an interesting contrast to only past US presidents, tentatively scheduled for September 13th. There is a high likelihood that may be moved depending on scheduling for my grandfather's funeral. On that cheery note, thank you so much to all the new subscribers I've received from the last stream, as well as upvotes, shares, whatever you felt like doing. It finally felt like this fight to stand up for what remains of truly American values wasn't so lonely. I also got some of the funniest responses you'll ever see in your entire life in the R Evil Autism subreddit. One of them was unfortunately deleted, but basically went into a bunch of hand-wringing about how, oh no, the fascists might kill us autists harder if we're not silent, that I was doing, quote, the most, or I was being, quote, extra, and how they'd never seen such autism as they couldn't even get through my preamble-like speech. This was before wannabe King Pedo purported to order states to start arresting homeless people and people with mental health conditions. My reply, the scanner says my autism power level. It's over 9,000! Ironic I can finally use that, given I used to type that meme out a lot on online forums for the Game Nation states. I continued, wow, someone has been taking way too many doom pills. I understand if many people need to not be active for their own safety, but everyone giving up is not the answer. Rotate in and out, yes. And after I stream BioShock and then Infinite by the end of the month, I will be rusting, which is also resistance. But that was the plan at the time. Again, things may move around. This is why I will not be including any contemporary news in the final Delta Papers, and moving HistoryFlights to once a quarter. But, I cautioned, someone has to be at least partially visible in the fight for autistic civil rights, or we risk being erased as we have been so many times before in American history. I was the first autistic kid integrated into my public school system after my mom filed a lawsuit for my civil rights, so I will not sit back and let them be taken because someone might crack down anyway. If the only choices truly become liberty or death, then the people will choose liberty, knowing that they have but one life to give for their country, and I know what path I'm picking as well. But we're not there yet, and that's because we're fighting. I'm also not doing the most compared to people arm in arm mobilizing against the military occupation of LA. As of recording, all the Marines are gone, and the only National Guard forces left will be 250 soldiers protecting federal buildings. Once again, pedo gonna taco. All I'm doing is in my resistance role, I continued, is arm others on the front lines with the information and hope needed to withstand this instead of letting despair take hold, which has nearly happened a few times to me from so many shocks to the conscience in a row, so the support I've got in has been fantastic. When I and others sounded the alarm, for instance, on the autism registry, we made our voices heard and the regime backed down. It's not entirely over because RFK Jr. still wants to waste money researching the causes of autism again when we know it's hereditable with possible environmental triggers, instead of improving available resources for autistic people for all support needs. Besides, this sub is the place for vengeful autism, not quietly roll over while being genocided autism. And like I said last stream, I had to be able to look my son in the eyes and say I fought for what was right. That I did what I would have done in Nazi Germany. Also, if you have been paying attention, you would have noticed that Pledge of Allegiance-like speech is the federal oath of office that is protected against religious discrimination since even before the First Amendment. And it requires me to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Another was like, but what about Marcel the Shell with shoes on? Or Nimona, or Roz from The Wild Robot, or anyone you care to name who's autistic coded. That's an excellent movie, by the way, but Roz is my favorite. I replied, groups of people can flip from visible to erased by a regime rather quickly. See Berlin Institute of Sexology. But this usually starts with slow erosion that people don't notice. RFK is largely the one in this administration trying to do that by pushing a narrative that dehumanizes and talks over our experiences again. But pedo is pushing autism as artificially induced to label us as undesirables because he always needs new enemies. Not to mention, with the push to get rid of DEI in society, the autistic person depicted on TV is still largely cis, male, white, straight, and low support needs. Think Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. I despise Chuck Lorre for his brand of thinly veiled stereotypical jokes. Defining a norm, even for the originally abnormal, and then making people like my high support needs Vietnamese American cousin, who can't verbally advocate for themselves, vulnerable. We can't truly exist the way we want to if that challenges gender binaries or sexual norms. When even birthright citizenship can't stop the police from questioning whether you're an American or not, I can't even imagine coming from Vietnam, or unfortunately for me, Ace Watini, and having a kid with an American right now. With birthright citizenship being litigated. And then lastly, another commenter was worried that because I forgot to put a comma when I said, this trans autistic federal employee, between trans and autistic, is not going to take this lying down, that people would think that I was a trans autistic, all one word. A small community of people who believe they can change from allistic to autistic somehow. Which stunned me, to be frank. This person admitted they might be overly online, and I responded with, clearly. And look, I'm not even judging. I've been there. But I had no idea that trans autistic as all one word was an actual conspiracy. I mean, seriously, who would choose all this discrimination? Which, side note, also a very good argument for the natural existence of trans people. And have just realized that the human species continues to get stupider by the day. Yet I had a good laugh over that, so am now glad I forgot to add a comma. Lastly, before I step back for the 7th time into the shoes of Jack Ryan, gaming's second favorite mute science experiment after Gordon Freeman, and take the worst flight ever, I also want to debrief a little bit about my experiences with autism, shared with a friend who was interviewing me on a writer's forum I used to frequent. It is hard to describe to anyone looking from the outside what dealing with a mental illness or developmental disability is like. But this is my favorite motif for explaining the struggle with Asperger's, now just called high-functioning autism after the consolidation of various diagnoses into autism spectrum disorder in the DSM-5. Funny how a single change in a book that has so much power to change power to change one's identity. I'll get to that in more detail later, but on with the metaphor. Imagine, if you would, that you were in a sealed fish tank filled with murky water, and wearing only a diving suit with a narrow porthole to see out of, a hose for air, and some headphones that allow you to hear everyone else. You feel the pressure of the water. You hear everything blasted straight into your ears and don't know how to lower the volume. The diving suit is uncomfortable. You try to say something, anything at all, but the words come out very garbled due to the water. You try to bang on the glass in frustration, but everyone backs away in fear. You panic and hyperventilate and the air comes in too slowly. You try to swim, but the suit is heavy and it's hard to move your limbs. You feel stuck and want to get anyone's help and want them, that was a original mistake by me, to know you understand and love them, but you can't figure out what to say. A huge misunderstanding about autism is that we must all be robots, incapable of not talking like a dictionary. Plenty of us do feel empathy, quite strongly, but again have a hard time expressing how we feel appropriately. And because of one stupid movie, Rain Man, people expect that those who are higher functioning are super geniuses at something. While I had narrow special interests as a kid, and did excel at school, except for math, I don't think I have some superpower that allows me to remember historical facts well. And I resent the implication that people who are lower functioning, now higher support needs, must be deficient somehow. Again, I have a family member who meets that description, probably just from having more neurons in my brain than mine. Since autism has, again, likely genetic and neurological roots. He usually speaks in simple sentences, and because neurotypicals emphasize the words you're saying, and often instantaneously judge you for not passing an invisible word test they have in their heads, he struggles. But technologies such as brain-to-computer interfaces already are helping bridge that gap, if not eugenically used. I, meanwhile, live very independently thanks to high verbal processing, a lot of support from my family in early childhood. The anxiety causing, I do believe applied behavioral analysis is improving, but it must never be allowed to be assumed as the default scientific method to feed a greedy insurance monopoly, or allowed to forget its roots as gay conversion therapy. Perfectionism of some of my social workers, my own efforts, and my inclination towards technology after a long time of getting used to it. I don't believe that I'm a miracle who overcame autism. It's part of me, and always will be. So while I used to wish it away when I was a teenager, to believe otherwise now would be too self-loathing. And I don't want to go down that road again when I self-loathe on a weekly basis. What a way to cap that interview off. And if you're thinking that this sounds awfully like the description of Big Sisters, yeah, BioShock has been a huge influence on my gender identity journey, as I acknowledged Eleanor Lamb being formative last time. Moving on, Andrew Ryan would definitely call me his favorite Dictator out-group word, parasite, for having a neurological impediment to being fully able, as defined by the American Protestant work ethic, that has broken this country's ability to organize generally by chaining their health insurance to their job, and then calling those who can't keep up with this relentless squeezing of our souls disabled. Alright, time to start the game. New Game Plus, eh? Okay, so... Okay. I do not have any. Okay, well, I'll just do a new game then. Alright, well, every bullet counts, because I've played this game 6 times. If it turns out that it's getting too hard and gets in the way of the commentary, then I may just decide to bump down the difficulty. But let's watch this cutscene.
They told me, son,
while I get some much needed water.
You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Ooh, ominous. Oh boy. I know every frame of this cutscene by heart. And just spilled a bunch of water on myself. Oops. Alright, let's get back to it. Now that I'm in the ocean. Oh. I cannot wait, like I said last time, until people see this story on Netflix. If you think The Last of Us is good, when that is a bare bones revenge story after 2, then you haven't seen anything yet with BioShock. Trust me. I just hope they don't mess it up, and that Cloud Chamber gets out of its 10-year development hell for BioShock 4 soon, so I can actually play that game on a machine that actually exists at some point. There's the plane. Does it sink? There's always a lighthouse. That's what they say in Infinite. And, this game's always been a lighthouse for me, too. It's allowed me to feel like video games are a valid medium of storytelling. No gods or kings, only man. Well, dictators, they do love their self-aggrandizing statues, don't they? And there's a reason why I put Trump and Epstein's face over Andrew's and said, "No Epstein files here!" XOXO, Trump. In what country is there a place for people like me? Well, maybe you were born a little bit too early for the crypto bro era. Then you might want to start your own free city. Okay, that's probably just a welcome poster that got shredded and is hard to read, but for some reason, I sometimes think that's part of the wall, and then get lost for a second because I have very bad spatial navigation in video games sometimes. This is just one thing you're gonna have to learn about me. Ooh, I'm getting chills already thinking about the first video in the bathysphere. 10 fathoms. With those Art Deco statues that glorify man. 18 fathoms, eh? Okay. Guess we won't know quite how many fathoms exactly. Incinerate! Fire at your fingertips! Plasmids by Ryan Industries.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone.
How dare those communists give everything to everyone?
Said, I chose something different. I
chose the impossible! I chose Rapture! Oh, that reveal still giving me chills now. And I've played this game 7 times, including this. Artists would not be censored. I forgot about that part. Ooh. There's the Big Daddy. Carrying a bridge in. Oh, it just... The fact that I could see a whole whale under me in this game and I was playing this on my 2010 MacBook was just brilliant. I mean, that was the only game that ran above like 30 FPS that was from... And it was a game from 2007, so... Or 2000, yeah. And exactly in 2007. Yep. Man, the August 21st, 2007. The game will be 20 years old? In 2 years? What? I just... What? Okay. Oh yeah, this part. Ooh, this is still disturbing. So, I may need to put like a trigger warning here. Oh! Fatality. And I know that this doesn't actually have a gameplay impact, but this next part always gets my palms sweaty anyway. Ooh. Just such a creepy and effective way to introduce a video game enemy archetype. Like, I don't think if you don't pick up the radio, she actually gets into the sub at all. It's just a complete your mission, damn it, trope. Yeah, no. The first instance of Would You Kindly. There will probably be spoilers for this game, so fair warning. Okay. well. Okay, well, if I recall correctly, there's an option. See gameplay. And difficulty is survivor with Vita chambers. Just gonna be carefully saving to make it through this without, I believe anyway, any any auto-saving in the form of these Vita chambers. Rapture is dead! Oh, the final protests of the collapse of this Ryan regime. We are not your property! Goodness. That looks like there was a lot of tickets scattered on the ground for the Atlantic Express, maybe? But I think all of the voyages are done for. Yeah, the train trips. Ryan doesn't own us. Attention, all bathysphere is now denied. Okay, yeah, so let it end, let us ascend. Yeah, people were really tired of Andrew Ryan's shit when they started the Civil War. Oh yeah, this part. Oh, so creepy. Oh yeah, cancel, that's where it is. That is how infrastructure collapses, but... Ah, to cut off his escape. Okay, well, let me just save again. I probably should pick a save and just overwrite that, but... Okay, avoid the couch. Okay. And... time to fight. The first time I tried this on Survivor, it definitely kicked my ass, so I'm a little bit nervous. Oh. Okay then. Alright, get you. Okay. Whew. Before you have any powers. Whew. Okay. Let's do that and heal. Oh, the ads everywhere. I love the style of these Art Deco ads as well. Security bullseye, Plasmid, to instantly have security robots attack your friends and foes. Okay, time to get through this cutscene and then I'll get back to the paper. Ugh. Always makes my arm feel a little weird, like sympathetically, to have this kind of thing happening, but one of my favorite stims is actually like going like this with my left hand, as if I have Electro Bolt. So this game changed me forever when I played it when I was 18.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam.
Well, now you see what I was talking about last time about these obsessives who go after this stuff.
Weak! You're weak, shopper. It's still fish. I love telling it, but not bad. Yellow always has been. No better off than that daddy little fish. See you floating.
This is such an effective cutscene because it introduces a lot of lore in a very organic way at a natural junction.
Look, Mr. Crumbles. It's an angel.
Uh-oh.
I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute. He's still breathing. It's alright. I know he'll be an angel soon.
And again, in Bioshock 2, you do get to see how the Little Sisters view the corpses of people who have been, or are about to be harvested. And, They look like sleeping angels. That's the mind control. Okay, well, let me just collect things around here first. Like, I think there's an extra first aid kit up around here somewhere. But anyway, it was ironic to have such a blanket statement coming from Andrew, who was born in Russia in 1919 and whose parents had the resources to escape the chaos of the Russian Revolution and relocate to the United States. Meanwhile, we saw with Sophia Lamb last stream that collectivism taken to extremes is a problem, but no societal support or government regulation in Rapture was what led to people becoming addicted to mutagenic sea slug goo, called plasmids and splicers, directly disabled by Ryan's negligence. Or even, no, not just negligence, like active participation in selling the end. What ended up being the end. Oh, right, I forgot this is how the controls are. Kind of weird. Oh, yes! The plane. Anyway. I mean, it kind of feels like our society is going in a similar direction because of AI. I saw AI models being demonstrated for government use at the Intel Public Sector Summit last year. I had mixed opinions because... Oh! How is this supposed to work? Okay, yeah, there we go. Airlock. I see. Right. Okay. I want to turn up the brightness just a smidge. Because I don't have nearly as good of a monitor as I do have a TV, so this way you'll have a little bit more room to understand what's going on. The 1-2 punch! Oh crap. Well, the 1-2 punch is not quite as effective this time, but... Oh, okay. Alright. And that is how you build tension in a game in its early hours, my goodness. But anyway, again, it's like, I really don't want it being used to steal artists' work en masse. I'm okay with tools, though, that help people process data they already have quickly. Coming up with new medicines based on existing data scientists carefully safeguard with appropriate bioethical review, for example, unlike here. Or, as I mentioned, technological aids for disabilities. Not AI slop to replace religion as the opioid of the masses. Which doesn't mean everyone who uses it is dumb, just more likely to be complacent. That's what Marx meant. I misunderstood that for so long, and so, you know, I want to apologize. Oh, okay. Eat some potato chips, that'll get me healthy, and smoke some cigarettes for Eve. Not recommended in real life, obviously, but it is video games. I don't think Jack will be adversely affected. Oh, I am very nervous about that door, even though it's probably not interactive. Oh man, just the artistry here, but yeah. I was cautiously optimistic that it could be used appropriately with human oversight, since large language models will never be free of hallucinations and they always have to guess what a word means and pick the most likely answer. Yet the rabid doges are such dumbasses that they're playing easy delete AI with the code of federal regulations by the thousands, such as all EPA climate change standards. Because the funny little Clanka, been funny seeing that meme take off to insult AI since I can't unhear it from Clone Wars, on their... There we go. On their illegal private servers tells them that they aren't required by the increasingly dried out letter of the Presidential and Federal Records Act Amendment Act of 2014. Just making sure there's nobody else around here I have to fight before I go up the elevator and do the next bit. of the story. Okay, well, can't now, but... Anyway, ever since Russell T. Voigt took... Oh, well, I'll let Atlas talk. Oh, the sob story. This is pathos. Okay. Pet bar for just a little bit of Eve. Which is basically the processed form of Adam. So, and then the plasmids are ultra processed. Okay, this way. I have... Okay, there we go. Revolver. I don't think it's quite there yet with AI, but I am very nervous about what's happening to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Ever since Russell T. Voigt took over, consumer complaints have shot up 2,051%, mostly from Zelle. Meanwhile, he could steal back as many as $360 in settlements for his corporate puppet masters, and had his other job at Office of Management and Budget give him a $4.7 million security detail after the big ugly Bill shit cut CFPB's previous budget of about $600 million in half. For gasp, returning $21 billion to consumers over 10 years, and so almost 12 years. Gosh. And so paying back that investment many times the same amount as Doge wasted in 6 months, including paying $21 billion they wasted, Doge, including paying 200,000 people $14.8 billion to do nothing through September in the Deferred Resignation Program, aka Fork in the Road. You can start to see the government is crumbling just because of negligence, like what's going on here. 1,500 people are at risk while they try to handle 29,000 complaints as states read tea leaves from past complaints. Guess you should write yours with AI. As economics writer Maya Mindell summarized in a post on X, okay, so yeah, Doge was illegal and didn't cancel any big ticket items, and also it didn't increase government efficiency and all its accomplishments and it lied about all of its accomplishments, and it also, none of its staff were even remotely qualified. But at least 1 million Africans died. Take that, libs. There are even more disturbing economic impacts of federal gutting highlighted by the report in Common Dreams, where I got this information about the cost of the Deferred Resignation Program. So I suggest you take a look. I'll have the script with sources in line in the description. But then former CFPB director. Oh. I know somebody comes out of this bathroom, but I'm not moving just yet while I finish my bit about CFPB. I mean, okay, so the former director Rohit Chopra of Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, who somehow wasn't fired until February 1st, held a Reddit AMA about the Bureau. One of the most haunting things he said in response to a question from a Redditor who stated, "What are some of the long-term consequences of gutting all these federal agencies that are in charge of helping the average person?" He said, "Of course, I'm worried about the cuts to the CFPB, whose budget was slashed nearly in half. A study found that the Trump administration's rollback of the CFPB has already, emphasis original, cost customers $18 billion and a backlog of over 16,000 consumer complaints." So, I guess I got my data a little differently. And this is just in the first 6 months. Unfortunately, there will be more to come. The Reuters article he linked declared that this $18 billion hole came in the form of increased consumer costs from the CFPB's rollback of the regulations on bank fees, which would have capped credit card late fees at $8 and overdraft fees at $5. Don't worry, I'll open up soon, my friend. The Trump administration's move to end those policies should together cost consumers $15 billion a year. And according to Director Chopra, the wholesale dismissal of cases against banks and other lenders and the apparent failure to disperse funds intended for harmed borrowers run counter to the Trump's campaign pledges to ease the cost of living. A dictator lies about his promises. What else is new? According to the Student Borrower Protection Center and the Consumer Federation of America. Not like President Pedo ever actually cared about that, though. Oh boy. I need to find more pest around some quick. Oh yeah, now I remember. That's coming from downstairs, but it's kind of loud. It's... Well, let me just grab some money over here. Anyway. So as I was saying, he never actually cared about helping the working class. Of course, none of Rusty's scheming to undermine literally everything the Bureau stands for was written down because records promote transparency. Oh boy, that's not good. Oh. Sorry, no Charlie here. Alright, well. Ow. That's not good. You want to come out here a little bit? So I can electrify you? There we go. Crap. No! Don't do this to me, game. Thank you. That would have been embarrassing if I died to this one. Anyway. So, fascism relies on unquestioned authority. That's why it never writes anything down. I'm also convinced he's a rusty turret, which is fitting, since he's incompetent like one of the turrets in Rapture. Okay. Any chance there's something in here? Well, I think I accidentally destroyed some Eve there. But yeah. He's incompetent and also fired off point blank like an unfeeling turret that he wanted to traumatize us federal employees into quitting. Then the Supreme Court kicked my friend at education while he was down in Pedo v. Boyle. Truly the most painful moment this year for me, despite everything happening to CFPB. The RIF rulings in general also spiked my anxiety back up to January levels, and made it hard to, like, work on this for weeks, actually. Anyway, to quote Congress.gov, the U.S. Department of Education was established by the Department of Education Organization Act, enacted on October 17, 1979. ED operations began in May 1980. Prior to the establishment of ED as a cabinet-level department in 1979, an Office of Education was housed at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Bam! That's how it's done. Okay, well. I can somewhat see the anodyne constitutional argument if you squint. Solicitor General John P. Sauer, for instance, explained the administration's reasoning in his brief for Trump v. Boyle. The case that led to the education firings, continuing by saying the Massachusetts District Court thwarted the executive branch's authority to manage the Department of Education despite lacking jurisdiction to second-guess the executive's internal management decisions. Well, turnabout is fair play for getting rid of Chevron deference. Even the original, much smaller Office of Education created in 1867 just to survey and assist state schools, however, was downgraded to an office in the Department of the Interior by a bill passed by Congress in 1868 and signed into law by President Andrew Johnson. And I'll get back to him, don't you worry. Not halved with practically no notice or actual legal reduction in force processes by fiat, you know, like in Andrew Jackson's day in the 1830s of the spoils system. Firing someone for now with little to no explanation of or time forces them to look for another job to have like food and health insurance. And even if reinstated months later, people like my friend may end up finding a much better paying job and just to trade out that way. Because the cruelty is the point, and that's what they want, is for people to leave. Plus, I heard when discussing this that they said that people might have to pay back money earned at the other job if they take this poison pill. But it turned out not to be true generally. And it isn't according to our collective bargaining agreement, which is still on the books, as NTU 335 defends CFPB's existence in court. So be careful of fake news, fellow feds. Stay union strong despite 3 judges on the Ninth Circuit allowing a dictator to rip up your collective bargaining agreements, quote, for now. Alright, time to listen to this audio diary. I didn't even remember your name.
Silliest girl in Rapture. Silly enough to fall in love with Andrew Ryan.
The start of the Civil War is what happened. And you can see the Atlas still hasn't shrugged yet. But yeah, I think honestly the only game that has ever done the audio diary mechanic well is the BioShock series, just because this is such an idiosyncratic society that would record their every thought as if it was so important to be saved for history. It's so selfish. But the thing is, like, that it really hasn't worked out that way for other games because they don't understand that. At least that's my opinion. Search you. Get another pep bar. Nice. You've already full. Oh, okay. I remember how this works now with the reloading. That actually did make more sense than BioShock 2's mechanics of that. But let me just clean out the kitchen one more time while I finish up the Department of Education stuff. My very, very, very late understanding of the Supreme Court's emergency orders are as follows: that the government could go ahead and fire people illegally, and that the judiciary cannot force the executive to employ people while the case is appealed up to the merits, and maybe decided years from now. Again, in the meantime, those who are fired will either have to get a different job, or expend considerable resources defending against illegal termination. In the meantime, education becomes Trump's personal weapon against the fake boogeyman of DEI, which is just code for enshrining white cis heteronormativity as the default again. And disabled students won't get their individualized education plans, but the damage will be a Democratic administration's problem. I hate it because the effect. Oops. Will you shut up? There. Okay. Now where was I? So I hate that because it effectively terminates hardworking people immediately anyway, and wins the administration their goal of paralyzing a key component of the administrative state in the meantime, while enabling the Supreme Court to effectively sidestep the charging bull and let it hit thousands of people. Speaking of large crowds, I also forgot to share last time that at the No Canes protest in Prospect Park on June 14th, while I was handing out lesser-known Declaration of Independence quotes to other protesters, I met an old man with a medium-sized white beard. He said he'd been to the protest to a protest against Vietnam in 1969 when 10,000 people were arrested. Those days must have been wild, but our republic survived. I would be diving into Nixon comparisons when it comes to how he treated his enemies in the government, except that the looming threat of a Kent state appears to have been averted for now, and general comparisons have been done a lot more thoroughly by people a lot smarter than me, such as Luke A. Nichter. What you have to know is we've survived worse. And whether cult leader or president, once you have a following that believes your every word is spouting a particular slogan and or doctrine until it's repeated enough, that people will believe it. Neither requires much intelligence to execute on, though, just repetition. I mean, Andrew Ryan is intelligent and executed on that. The chaos of libertarianism. This also feels like the opioid epidemic, unfortunately. How dare you hit a little girl when I had to step back to prevent that from being shown on YouTube? I don't know if this will be YouTube friendly either. Oh no! Ooh! Big Daddy wins! Flawless victory! I'm having the buzzing problem again, with regards to this, but I don't think, I hope that it's just actually shows up. Oh, okay, I gotta go through the door. Duh. This is also where you find the first director's commentary, and I haven't been able to find literally any of the others. I'll just let that play. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Jeff Keighley here in Boston to go behind the scenes to hear some untold stories about the making of BioShock with kenlevine and Sean Robertson.
Well, I kind of think this might be long, but well, we'll see how much I want to actually put up while I think about how slogans work.
The theme and setting of BioShock, Rapture. I think a lot of people, when they played the game for the first time, they wondered, how did we even dream up this place? And I know you said publicly before that part of the reason you sort of what led you to Rapture was this idea of fully simulating a place. Tell us about that sort of idea and the frustration you had with other games where you sort of hit it down.
I think our philosophy was always to do what we were doing 100% rather than try to do something bigger and do it 50% or 40%. So
sometimes I wish game developers would do that more, is like not try to go over scope.
And you kind of eliminate the questions of, well, why can't I go over the bridge to New Jersey? So we were able to really make a place, I think, that felt believable and real, though in actuality it was really quite limited, but we just sort of addressed it with all these buildings outside that were all,
You know, I think I need to swap out my battery.
Let the story drive what we needed to show rather than
Yeah, I might play the rest of this later. Just see something. Oh no, it's still buzzing, but you know what? It's fine. I'm just gonna have a problem with figuring this out until, I don't know. Anyway. So, the unfortunate truth at the heart of political science is that people like slogans because they spread mimetically. And yes, that does include the kinds of cringy AI memes the White House posts, like how they could shit all over Studio Ghibli to show people being arrested in tears. Nope! Wow, they can really run you down in this game. Okay. off it. There we go. Although I am in a dire spot. I think I have a first aid kit, if I remember correctly, by the Big Daddy. You get zapped. There we go. Much needed, thank you. Anyway, this kind of thing crosses the line, though. When it goes from Ryan's message of from the sweat of your brow, Rapture can be your city as well, and Atlas's rallying posters, to things like parasites and enemies within. Slogans doesn't mean everybody's in a cult. It just means that they work on similar paths of simpler is better when it comes to the truth. The message then becomes a unifying creed, which when repeated in a mantra, it brings emotional reassurance to the speaker and the audience. Nope, I guess there's like never anything in the trash cans around here. Seriously, do people not throw out their trash? That would probably be another reason to... This is... Oh, well, I got drunk. Oops. And wasted my plasmids. Oh. Let me just say, because I know there's a big fight coming up. I mean, look, this whole arresting Obama thing is a fascist dinner theater mantra, which, just like the threat to arrest Zoran Madami, the seals will clap and then nothing will happen. At least, for now. Take him seriously, but not literally. Yet, the cultural shift to the right is real, and as long as they get to drool over Sydney Sweeney, they might not care whether they actually have an effective dictator. I'm worried about how much on-the-nose American nationalism is hardening through the usual pathways of culture, but that will be easier to see once I'm playing BioShock Infinite, since that game was developed as an on-the-nose and very mid-2010s, somewhat racially insensitive exploration of those themes. I personally, though, continue to wear what I want to my office day, whether that's dresses or blouses and skirts or a polo shirt and flowy pants. They cannot and will not erase me. I'm still afraid about what looks from anyone out in the open might mean, though, even though they're probably nothing. And I'm still afraid to go in and quickly pee a piece because of a baseless moral panic, but more on that later when I get to the evidence for trans people in a different stream, probably. Alright, time to go into the bathroom again. Nobody's gonna bother me about that here, except for trying to kill me, but that's just generally not just because they don't like my existence in their space, not because they think I'm in the wrong bathroom. God. People are so stupid about this shit. Like, can we not have this fight? Thanks. 99% of the time, people are there in a bathroom to use the bathroom, and that's it.
Security alert in progress.
Oh right, I gotta get to Medical Pavilion to shut that off. Hey Rusty Turret, what's up? Okay. Crap. No, 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 no. Ow. Now they got me cornered. Okay. Gotta get to the bathrooms or else. Okay, time to switch quickly. Reload. Maybe I shouldn't have used bullets on that, but I didn't want to take any chances. Emergency, lockdown, blah blah blah. That's the turret. Okay, don't want to do that. I don't want to bother the turret either.
What are you
Eat it! Oh, nice, I got some coffee. And shotgun shells for some reason. More of them. Blam! Get shreked. Idiots. Okay. Well, that's what you get. You know that electrocution is a thing, and yet you decided to go into the water anyway. But I might be the idiot here, because I'm probably gonna die. Where are you? Come on. Come out so I can shoot you. Thanks. Well, wait, I should loot. Hang on. Well, okay, nice. Healing myself, obviously. Reload, Eve. Anyway. Once I load into the next area, I'll talk about the next topic. Oh, I think... Actually... Yeah, I think this is pretty close to the end. Yeah, into this next part. Okay.
Oh, Christ! You're trapped! Gonna try to override the exit from here.
Okay.
So tell me, friend, which one of the bitches sent you? The KGB?
Oh, the paranoia of a
CIA
collapsing dictator.
Here's the news. Rapture isn't some sunken ship for you to plunder. And Andrew Ryan isn't a giddy socialite who can be slapped around by government muscle. And with that, farewell. Or das Ladania, joke.
Nice joke. Trying to get out of here, because they'll never break through the glass, unlike a Bioshock 2, where they do break the glass. To Medical Pavilion, then. Alright. So, next, Pedo has also managed to weaponize bias against the mainstream media by trapping it with said moniker to make it bend to his will, getting Colbert canceled after already getting $16 million against 60 Minutes by illegally dangling FTC merger approval over a struggling billion-dollar Ellison family's faces. And the ability to install a fucking bias monitor at CBS. Imagine the outrage if Obama had demanded this of Fox News. This shows Republicans never cared about free speech, only their own ability to spew bullshit without limits. And now we can never trust billionaires because they will mostly choose their pocketbook over their principles. I don't expect much to materially change in the case of the Wall Street Journal's reporting on Epstein. Trust me, we'll get to that. My body is readying for the Epstein files. Even before this disgraceful moment, though, with the rise of social media and the financial problems all the conglomerates that own broadcast news networks had, they were not actually mainstream anymore. Certainly not since the days of TV journalist titans like Walter Cronkite that hundreds of millions would tune into every night as one of 3 channels. I still listen to Lawrence O'Donnell on occasion, but I prefer to digest news myself where possible, thanks. Per Captain Midnight, late night has taken a lot of hits from the podcast industry, since that's a much easier and less costly way to promote your next big thing. However, online fans who watched the next day on YouTube and steady ratings for the CBS faithful combined kept the show as the top fish in the shrinking pool. All Stephen Colbert did was tell the truth, and he got his show yanked from it by the cowards at CBS. And now they're threatening The View over a fat joke, and I bet Pedo can't wait to put their metaphorical heads on spikes as warnings to Kimmel and Myers. Oh, Myers, you really got us into quite the pickle back at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2011.
Now you've met Andrew Ryan, the bloody king of Rapture.
Heh.
Now find your way to emergency access.
Amazing the game is just, like, organically making my points for me. I just do not know what is going on with the sound on my thing. And my camera is blocked over that, so I actually don't know which one the audio is. That was a bad place to put that, but whatever. let's just grab that. Do a little searching before we go into finding our first turret. Or no, security bot. Released today.
Dr. Steinman said he'd release me today. Ryan didn't come to see me since the New Year's attack, not once.
Ah, the aestheticism of fascism.
Dr. Steinman was very attentive. He told me that once the scar tissue was gone, he was gonna fix me right up, make me prettier than any girl I've ever seen. He's sweet, all right. And so interested in my case.
Right, I'm not purchasing items just yet, but look, in only the second notable legislative victory of his term, our own King Pedo has gotten Congress to retroactively approve his theft of $500 million from PBS, NPR, and USAID, except for the President's Emergency PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR, that has saved 26 million lives. However, now USAID, instead of a neutral provider of humanitarian aid via free clinics, like the one my fiance and son had in Swaziland for just, you know, general checkups and everything like that. Just a normal doctor's office, right? Like, free. So stupid. Anyway, it's just gonna be an arm of Marco Rubio for destroying aid, based on ancient ideas about sexual health and administrative incompetence. Okay, I'm just gonna wear it all over my head like this. Right, okay, so, minigame time. Oh, right, I forgot that was how that worked. Seems like it's doubly playing in my headset and out of the back of my Mac mini speakers. I really don't know what's going on, but that's okay. I've listened to this game before. I get the idea. But in case there's dialogue, I'm going to also adjusting difficulty, no. Options. Customize controls? Are there no subtitles in this game? That would be weird for... Oh, there's subtitles. Okay. Might be for the art, but... We just save again as well. We're in Medical Pavilion. Okay. So, look, talk about the American Empire all you want. I agree that America has been plenty imperialistic, but mostly economically and with military bases rather than direct conquest. Sadly, though, we do have ugly reminders of the latter due to Puerto Rico, Guam, and other overseas territories' lack of representation. And after years of attempting to grapple with this issue, I want America to stop arming Israel now that Iran has brokered a ceasefire for itself. It's weird agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. However, until we have a fair and just federal world government, even with all the pedos damage, no other nation has the democratic values, and to be clear, I'm not saying everyone has to copy our exact government, but I would like elections to matter, unlike in Russia and China. Or the technology, economic capability, and network of alliances to even attempt to fix problems on a global scale. This is why it's so infuriating that America is retreating from any kind of moral leadership. Because we could have been there also for aid. USAID's practical goals of a guaranteed market for our farmers, improving the perception of America around the world, and countering China are there for sure, and should remove any rose tint from glasses. However, calling USAID a CIA front is an exaggeration, since the CIA stopped officers everywhere they could because it was the Cold War. This is just a conspiracy theory that I've been hearing going around online, and it's stupid. Anyway, the Soviets were our biggest importer of weed, even. In any case, playing politics by burning food and medicine means people are just going to dismiss every U.S. motive and not naively. Oh boy, this is gonna be bad if I fail the second mini-game. Such a veteran player. That would be embarrassing! Okay, come on. You can do this. least I know where 2 horizontal pieces are now. There we go. Pretty much always worth it to at least try to hack, especially later in the game once you get some upgrades. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna keep this around my neck because I'm pretty much just hearing the game out of the speakers, so it looks a little weird. Well, you can listen to it as a podcast as well. So anyway, I have that. Oh, that was a mistake to get vodka. Okay, well. So, PBS really hurts, because a non-exhaustive list of shows I grew up with includes Sesame Street, Bear in the Big Blue House, Between the Lions, Wishbone, and Zaboomafoo, and one of the first multisyllabic words I pronounced what I pronounced was corporation when I was 4, as in Corporation for Public Broadcasting. When I was 4! I'll keep up my annual donation to both for as long as I can, but I don't really watch them when I should, because their programming is mostly geared towards older people stuck on the terminally declining broadcast radio and television space. Even as I recognize how much I'm loving Renaissance, The Blood and the Beauty, PBS's new shows are usually PBC co-productions, which PBS leans on a lot to save money, that are not going to gain a large audience. With the Corporation for Public Broadcasting shutting down, which PBS makes PBS like Cliffhanger from the animated segments of the same name from Between the Lions, I'm not sure PBS can hold on much longer! So they're gonna have to rely more than ever on viewers like you. Thank you. Alright, let's see. I think there's a fight here. Or maybe not. Hey.
Keep away from my
I should probably let the security bot handle most of this.
Stop taking the big Plasmid.
Wow, this guy can really move when he wants to. Oh, nope, nothing doing for that. That might have been an accidental friendly fire from my security bot as well. But yeah, so... Okay, I first saw Renaissance, The Blood and the Beauty, a 3-part docudrama starring Michael Dance as Michelangelo in April on the flight from Durban, South Africa, after first meeting and proposing to my fiancée to my 21-hour layover in Dubai. Perhaps there's a more ethical airline that I could have gotten than Emirates, but the problem with that is that all the other flights I saw would have been 34 hours each way with 2 stopovers, which for the exact same price. And I had a fun time in Dubai. Yeah, I have plenty of criticisms for it, where you can watch on my gaming news podcast, Sunny Redemption Sailing. Anyway, I'm going to summarize a lot of it throughout the rest of the stream. I always knew that the Renaissance was filled with warfare, but the way they presented it, tying the creative rivalries, sexualities, and contemporary politics in with some of the best art in the world, really gave me a whole new appreciation for the era, along with the talking heads. The critique I share with Anita Singh at the Telegraph is why only Michelangelo got an actor. Oh yeah, I think I have to push this button. Because I think...
If you want to use the emergency access, you'll be needing Dr. Steinman's case. He's the one that runs this place. But I don't expect that they'll get you.
Oh, that was a panic shooting.
Steinman ain't that kind. And frankly, I'm not even sure he's still human.
Okay, well. I don't want to use the electrical override switch just yet, because then that just creates a fight. But if I have any more money that I picked off of them, I should just try and get some more supplies as well. Oh, hey, pistol round. Why not? Anyway, remember how I said last time that the Western Roman Empire couldn't even protect Italy by the end of 476, and that the Eastern Romans, aka Byzantines, reconquered it in 536? I won't get too into that, or again, the Middle East right now, as I was going to make something topical for October 7th, but I'm going to instead analyze various historical incidents in the life of the Byzantines, such as the Arab conquests and the Crusades, to help explain some of the deeper-rooted history in the Middle East that might help explain these conflicts when I return with History Flights in January. I also highly recommend the channel Majorianus if you want more details of late Roman history in the meantime. Anyway, by 568, the Byzantines were struggling due to the twin pressures of the Lombard invasions of Italy, and ongoing civil wars and attacks from the Sassanids in the east. Triple pressures, actually, I suppose. And then, oh yeah, that's why. Okay. You do that. Machine gun rounds. And Adams changes. Well, I'll do that in a second. Probably save it for later, actually. But, so they eventually withdrew, and in their wake rose a patchwork of city-states. By the mid-15th century, two important developments were occurring. One, after forming in 421, Venice got de facto independence from the Byzantines in 812 in the Pax Nicephori after forming mutual support networks against the Franks and Lombards, hint for all us queer folk, and used the slave trade to get the best access up to the Eastern Silk Road due to its convenient position on the Adriatic Sea, allowing it to set up multiple colonies along the western Balkan coast, including Greece, as the Byzantines went into terminal decline by, like, the 13th century, including because Venice sacked that. It sacked Constantinople in 1204 in the Fourth Crusade. Anyway, the Catholic Church monopoly on artistic expression, something that it gained as an important preserver of Greco-Roman knowledge alongside Byzantium and the Islamic empires, again, more in January, collapsed as scholars fled the fall of the Byzantine capital of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. This meant by 1488, the documentary mentions that Milan was one of the more powerful militaries on the peninsula, though not for long. And Florence was famous for banking after inventing paper money. And most importantly for our story, used that influence to acquire great art. That's what wealth does, is it often acquires art to aggrandize itself. So Michelangelo became an apprentice to a Lorenzo de' Medici, ruler of Florence since 1469. In 1489 at the San Marco Gardens art school in Florence. However, dictators always have to be consolidated, and in order to do so, you needed artistic propaganda and just as much as money and military might. Images were not as common as they are today, so says the documentary. So, I mean, yeah, that's true, but also... Can you not make me panic? Thank you. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, now I have a lot less rounds for the upcoming battle, but, So, art was often displayed in cathedrals of increasing size due to the use of flying buttresses since the construction of Notre Dame de Paris in 1180, where people would end up craning their necks at the art and admire the generosity of its patron. The Byzantines did something very similar at their height. According to the art history department at Utah State University, emperors ruled as absolute monarchs. The emperor and sometimes empress were the commander-in-chief of the army, head of the church and government, and controlled all the state finances. One reason the emperor's power was so great is because during the Byzantine era there was no separation between church and state, giving the emperor absolute power. They did this while aided by high-ranking nobility, church figures, and ministers. They could appoint or dismiss nobles at will, including, I might add, the remnants of the Roman Senate, descended from senators who moved to Constantinople in the 4th century, and enjoyed fabulous wealth. The position was most often hereditary, though brand new dynasties did sometimes form. Anyway. The Senate's interventions against the emperor were rare and based on the nominal principle that they elected emperors if there was ever a succession crisis, such as in the case of Emperor Heraclius. His nose was cut off by the Senate's order in 641, soon after he succeeded his brother Constans II, who may have been assassinated by their mother Martina, amid the turmoil of Emperor Heraclius' death. Anyway, going back to Utah State's page, Byzantine emperors were considered by the people to be God-chosen rulers, making them extremely unavailable to the public. One would be considered extremely lucky to catch only a glimpse of the imperial family in their lifetime. However, the emperor's image was widely spread through its use on official coinage. That same page describes my favorite Byzantine art, the Hagia Sophia, as a well-known lavish architectural construction that symbolizes imperial power and divine authority, with its great size, geometric structure, and sense of divine presence while playing with light sources. It makes sense to have artistic expression inflate the dictator's ego, whether it's beautiful or not, though. You don't have much choice if they're the one paying the bills. Leonardo's first drawings in Milan were about inventing war machines, such as precursors to helicopters and tanks, to the delight of Ludovico Sforza. Leonardo da Vinci, yeah. Who didn't know whether they might be sabotaged. I think they were by Leonardo. He was too good of an artist and engineer to, you know, make these mistakes without it being on purpose. Speaking of war, I think it's time we use the electrical override switch and get into it. Well, I have the security bot, so that should help. But man, they really do a good job of building up the anticipation of this fight. Again, I've played this game 6 times before this, and I still feel nervous. Because it's on Survivor. That helps with the tension. Oh, crap. I did not realize it was already in the hall. Ah! Oh, crap. There. Oh! That's not good. Oh. Oh, I hate to be Florence. I feel like Florence in the late 15th century right now, surrounded on all sides by rivals and the superpower of France and the Holy Roman Empire, constantly meddling. Okay. Electric butt, huh? Okay, please let this be over. Okay, nope. Apparently not. Ow! Please just eat it already. Thank you. Okay. I'm betting the bot is about to explode. Okay. That should allow me to buy a first aid kit. Should otherwise be okay health-wise. Anyway, it makes sense to have artistic expression inflate a dictator's ego, whether it's beautiful or not. No, oh wait, no, I already did that part. Oh yes, I know. Okay, so he had just imprisoned his Ludovico Sforza, the dictator of Milan, the Duke of Milan. De facto, had just imprisoned the rightful ruler, his nephew Gian Galeazzo, and his wife Isabella of Aragon, and earlier received Leonardo as a diplomatic gift from Lorenzo de' Medici in 1482. Again, acquire art, aggrandize yourself, and then spread it around to show how powerful you are. Let's see. Just being very nervous here, because yeah, this is about to be the first, no, not quite yet. Broken health machine. Anyway, I'll just keep talking then. So, then Ludovico had Leonardo paint Lady with an Ermine in 1489. A much more peaceful scene, to be sure, but still showing one of Ludovico's lovers stroking the small mink as a representation of him, with her also displaying realistic movement in reaction to him entering the room, as if odd. Imagine the kind of ego it takes to want to make your lover's portrait that has been slowly painted in multiple uncomfortable sitting sessions for 2 years all about you. But it wasn't all aggrandizing for authoritarians. Michelangelo was fascinated by the structure of bodies, rather like Dr. Steinman, and managed to make what was originally seen as profane into a vehicle of God's work. Eve just came from Adam's rib, after all. After Lilith was kicked out for wanting to be equal since she was also created from dust, typical. But God must have had a male body if Adam was created from dust in his image. Michelangelo often dined with people like Angelo Poliziano, who was a fellow homosexual, able to discuss male bodies based on the re-emergence of Greco-Roman veneration of men and boys in a time where officers of the night executed people. Fortunately, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo only ever worked on corpses, not plastic surgery. I'll get to that in a second.
You keep an eye peeled for Steinman.
Oh boy, here we go.
Shop in the surgery wing. You want to find them? Just follow the blood.
I mean, this is very of the moment for this, so.
Adam presents new problems
There's the
for the profession.
subtitles. I'm an idiot.
As your tools
Yeah, there we go.
improve, so do your standards. There was a time I was happy enough to take off.
Just the obsessing of making your craft as best as possible can really, as best as you can really bring the world forward, or it can do all of this craziness. All do no harm with blood on the floor. Some of the writing is a little over the top with this game. I like a lot of the characterizations. What are words? Of BioShock 2 characters a lot better. Well, I know there's a turret here, so I gotta grab that. Oh, I also smoke cigarettes for some reason. No, my heat was full.
Short out right and prompt if you hit them with electrable.
Especially now. It'd be bad to. Oh, crap. Ah, what? Oh. Okay, let's hack. Okay. Come on. Okay. All good. I just hope I didn't, like, hit an alarm. There we go. My path's clear. Just gotta get a few more vertical pieces. Somehow they make it so that every time you actually have all the pieces you need. I will give this game a lot of credit for that. Okie dokie. I think I may just get rid of this headset. It never really worked the way I wanted to, and it was way too expensive. But I guess we'll see what happens with the 3.5mm one that goes right into my Mac port anyway. Just kind of waiting for these guys to be finished off. And yeah, there's the second turret. Gotta be careful about that. Ooh. Ow. I'm just gonna buy it out for $10. Capitalism! Money allows you to skip the problems in life. Anyway. So Leonardo carved the largest horse statue in the world at 24 feet tall. And both men contributed greatly to our understanding of anatomy by dissecting, again, thankfully dead bodies from hospitals. Still kind of yucky, though. A few years earlier in 1490, an itinerant preacher named Girolamo Savonarola was led into Florence by Lorenzo de' Medici, which was ultimately his crucial tin pot mistake that toppled the entire Medici family. Oh, that's not good. Oh no! Do I have to go back a lot? Oh, crap. Oh, I'm at a Vita chamber. Ugh. I guess oh, disable Vita chambers was turned off. Okay, well. You know what, I'll accept it this time, but after this, for this playthrough, I'm gonna turn it off, but I need to finish my thought anyway. So he made this decision, though, while he was starting to lose his grip, Lorenzo, due to premature aging from a condition known as acromegaly, where you have too many hormones, so your skin thickens. Ugh. He was ultimately unable to respond to popular anger at the secularization of art, wealth inequality, and the fact that 75% of Florentines had no say in elections, all of which Savonarola exploited to gain popularity, as you do when a demagogue. These were conducted in the city's four quarters, these elections, who nominated two priori to sit on the council or signoria. I apologize for any bad pronunciations going forward to Italians. They were joined by elected members of the city guilds, which were divided into major and minor. Major guilds were lawyers, cloth merchants, wool, silk, bankers, furriers. That's just funny to read out. Doctors, apothecaries, and spice merchants. Minor guilds are butchers, bakers, armorers, vintners, tanners, masons, carpenters, innkeepers, cooks, locksmiths, leather workers. So the laws were formed by a two-house legislature. The upper house, the Consiglioli del Comune, elected from the quarters, and the lower house, the Consiglio del Popolo, elected from the guilds. In times of crisis, a Parlamento was also called, consisting of all male citizens over the age of 14, to approve a creation of an emergency committee. Every few months, a new head of state, or gonfaloniere, was elected from the 8 priori, made up of 2 from the quarters and 6 from the guilds, who together formed the signoria. Theoretically, Florence's leader could be anyone from a lawyer to a butcher. Practically, the position was usually filled by a senior member of a major family. In 1402, Giovanni de' Medici was elected prior from the Wool Merchants Guild, and in 1421 he was elected gonfaloniere. It was a sign that the Medici had truly arrived. Then when his successor, Lorenzo, died in 1492 at the age of 43, if nothing else stops dictators, the fact that we are all mortal definitely will. The lately deceased Lorenzo the Signoria proclaimed, whereas the foremost man in all of the city, and to help with my brain, I'm just going to call it the Senate from now on. I think it's been referred to in several places of that, but I'd have to look it up. Just double checking. But I'm going to say the Senate for my brain anyway. So, the Senate proclaimed, whereas the foremost man of all this city, the lately deceased Lorenzo de' Medici, did during his whole life neglect no opportunity of protecting, increasing, adorning, and raising the city, but was always ready with counsel, authority, and painstaking in thought and deed. Shrank from neither trouble nor danger for the good of the state and its freedom. It has seemed good to the Senate and people of Florence. That's where it is, yeah, that quote. To establish a public testimonial of gratitude to the memory of such a man, in order that virtue might not be unhonored among Florentines, and that in days to come other citizens may be incited to serve the Commonwealth with might and wisdom. Well, I mean, leaders can be inspirational, whether they're dictatorial or not. There's no complete exclusion just because you're a bad person from other people being inspired by you. That's the problem. Sometimes. Uh-oh. I'm just hoping there's not an enemy around. I'm going to definitely apply these bandages, because I need that. I will play that later, I think. Because I'm a bit nervous that there's somebody around. Ooh, well. Too bad for you, buddy, but... Okay, let me search that again. Nice, okay. Phew, really needed that. So yeah, meanwhile Machiavelli, of The Prince fame, eulogized Lorenzo in the last paragraph of chapter 26 of The Prince, entitled An Exhortation to Liberate Italy from the Barbarians. Case in point. I'll be rereading this whole book thoroughly for the third Delta paper. As in his life he was inferior neither to Philip of Macedon, the father of Alexander, nor to Scipio of Rome, so he died in the same year of his age as they did. And he would doubtless have excelled both of them had fortune decreed that he should be born not in Lucca, but in Macedonia or Rome. His son Piero the Unfortunate succeeded him. Oh, hey, I am cultivated, actually. I'll have you know, and I am about to prove it to you. At the point of the gun. because why not?
Oh, darling.
Wait, what? Oh, I forgot that they could heal! Oh, at the heal stations. Okay. Right. I should probably hack that, just to poison them if that happens again. But I really need to... Yeah, there we go. Keep going on about this Savonarola guy soon. I just really need to focus on the live hacking. I forget how intense this game could be sometimes. Maybe because I have beaten it so often, I'm like, it's no big deal. I'll just replay this game that I've played all this time. But it has been a long time. And, you know, there will be calm sections, I'm sure. And... nothing to it. Anatomize that. Okay. Okay. Well, I have no machine gun rounds. That's a problem. There's the circuits of values. Nice. And El Alma Bendito. Which, so racist. Sorry about that. Oh, that's a little bit hard. Oh, yeah. Not allowed to... break private property in Rapture.
That some citizens
Are we?
have discovered ways to hack the vending machines. I should not need to remind each and every
It's like something
that
weird the kids are doing these days.
enterprise is the foundation upon which our society has been established. Parasites will be punished.
Ooh. Well, again, that's his favorite outgroup word. So, the following article from EBSCO summarizes why he was so unfortunate best. The invasion of Italy by King Charles VIII of France in 1494 marked a pivotal moment in European history, initiating a series of foreign interventions in the Italian peninsula. Driven by dynastic claims to Naples and his aspirations to reclaim Jerusalem, Charles VII's campaign symbolized the intersection of medieval ambitions and the emerging political dynamics of the Renaissance. With a well-organized standing army of 40,000 to 50,000 men, the French monarchy capitalized on Italy's fragmented political landscape where local powers relied on mercenaries and shifting alliances. Also, Ludovico Sforza had just possibly poisoned Gian Galeazzo in 1494. Very tin pot action based on paranoia of enemies, a crucial feature of dictatorships. This enabled him to call Charles for aid against Naples' own claims to Milan. Ludovico at the time was also much diminished after suffering a stroke and literally was only spared when the French turned on him by the pleas of his wife Beatrice. Continuing with EBSCO, Charles's journey through Italy, characterized by a mixture of diplomacy and military might, saw him welcomed by certain Italian leaders while simultaneously sowing discord among others, leading to the temporary expulsion of the Medici from Florence. Just make sure I'm grabbing everything that I can. So his swift occupation of Naples, however, was marred by strained Oh, there you are. Always coming out of the woodwork. Nice try. Maybe I should have just let her poison herself, but it's okay. She's dead anyway. This was marred by the strained relations with the local nobility and the formation of the Holy League, a coalition of like Spain and Switzerland and stuff, aimed at countering French influence. The ensuing battle at Fornovo ended indecisively, revealing Italy's disunity and the challenges of defending against foreign powers. Ultimately, Charles's ambitions faltered, and he left Italy in 1495, shortly before his unexpected death in 1498. His invasion not only shaped Italy's political landscape, it also signaled a shift towards a more modern European power balance, illustrating the complexities of alliances and military strategies that would characterize the continent's future. Then in 1499, Ludovico fled and then was imprisoned by Charles XII to avenge France's humiliation. Oh, the love for science. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I did talk about last time how she worked with those Germans.
German doctor. He make experiment. Sometimes he makes scientific error. I tell him of this error.
Right. More people over here to loot.
But then he asks, how can a child know such a thing?
Oh, right. Yeah, I gotta come back here with telekinesis. Now I remember. Oh, finally something in the trash can.
Why tell me? Well, I said, if you are going to do do such things, at least you should do them properly.
Okay. Well, so back to 1493, according to Donald Weinstein's book Savonarola, The Rise and Fall of a Renaissance Prophet, a revenge-minded French king poised with a fearsome army on the border of Tuscany was final proof to the Florentines of Piero de' Medici's disastrous leadership, while he preferred hunting and ball playing to the hard working of governance, and turned a much-used public square into a private jousting field for himself and his friends. Sounds a lot like Elon, among other things. And then, returning to preach in September 1493, the day of St. Matthew the Apostle, I expounded upon the text where I had left it, that is, "Lo, I will bring the waters over the earth," Genesis 6:17, it already being public knowledge that the king of France with his people had entered Italy. Terrified at these words, many immediately acknowledged that this reading from Genesis had been guided step by step by the secret impulse of God. Weinstein 107. Weinstein also describes what happens next on page 130 of his book. The timing proved to be, alright, result of successful hack, nice. Gotta heal for another $10. Oh, that exploitative post scares the economy of Rapture. Constantly nickeling and diming you for the ability to instantly heal your wounds. The timing proved to be uncanny too when Piero left the city open to the French. He then tried bribing the city with wine before the next morning, before Piero attended mass in the cathedral in the afternoon, returned to the government palace with a detachment of soldiers and demanded entry. Finding that the magistrates were barricaded inside with their own armed men, he turned away, vowing to come back with more soldiers. The palace bell ringing in his ears, Piero pushed through a hostile crowd that was shouting "Popolo in libertà!" and made his way to the Medici palace. In the meantime, he had sent for his kinsman, Paolo Orsini, to come north with more soldiers, but Orsini had not arrived, and time was working against him. Government criers were already in the streets, proclaiming that any foreigner who did not lay down his arms or who gave aid to Piero was subject to the death penalty. After his brother and Tornabuoni, again, I'm probably butchering that, cousins failed to rally a counterforce in the streets with more cries of "Pale!" Piero understood that all was lost. Together with Cardinal Giovanni, prudently disguised as a simple friar, and a few followers, he rode out of the San Gallo gate into exile. So complain all you want about the Bureau of Labor Statistics' recent 4.2% unemployment number is rigged against you. Eventually people will see through your lies, especially in economics when they know it hurts their wallet. Even if they don't know why, they'll blame you. Have fun taking your free Qatari Air Force nun into exile to Daddy Putin's lap in disgrace someday, Donnie the Unfortunate. I can only hope on anyway. I would also like to share a statement made yesterday by the Friends of BLS about the firing that says more about the shot through the heart in any kind of confidence in America's economy or accurate government reporting than anyone ever would. Yeah, there we go. Oh! I thought there was one of these rooms that had a turret in it. Okay. Automatic hack tool, nice. Great way to introduce that. Oh, oops. I drank coffee when I shouldn't have. Anyway, today President Trump called into question the integrity of the employment situation report that the BLS released this morning. He accused BLS Commissioner Erica McEntarfer of deliberately reporting false numbers to reflect poorly on the administration. This is baseless. A damaging claim that undermines the valuable work and dedication of BLS staff who produce the reports each month. This escalates the president's unprecedented attacks on the independence and integrity of the federal statistical system. Because remember, you cannot have any independent systems of power in a dictatorship. That is closed off. The president seeks to blame someone else for unwelcome economic news. The commissioner does not determine what the numbers are, but simply reports on what the data show. The process of obtaining the numbers... Oh, right, she got exploded. Oh boy. Yeah, I think I need to get the telekinesis plasmid first. Man, it's been a minute since I've had this flow, but it's so nice that that this game still feels so well designed all these years later. No machine gun rounds, right. Well, you blew yourself up like an idiot! Oh, and then you blew me up too. Let me heal. Nope, can't. Well, that. Oh, don't. No! I'm out! Arg. Okay. I gotta withdraw for a little bit and figure out my next move against this guy, because yeah, you're definitely supposed to have the telekinesis plasmid at first. My bad. Ugh. I don't like to do this because I know I have to use this for the Big Daddy fight, but I don't have much of a choice. Okay. Anyway, the commissioner does not determine what the numbers are, but simply reports on what the data show. The process of obtaining the numbers is decentralized by design to avoid opportunities for interference. The BLS uses the same proven, transparent, reliable processes to produce estimates every month. Every month, BLS revises the prior 2 months' employment estimates to reflect slower arriving, more accurate information. This rationale for firing Dr. McIntyre is without merit and undermines the credibility of federal economic statistics that are a cornerstone of intelligent, intelligent economic decision-making by businesses, families, and policymakers. U.S. official statistics are the gold standard globally. Let me pick up some more dollars so I can heal. Oh, still $3 short. Darn it. Okay, well. When leaders of other nations have politicized economic data, it has destroyed public trust in all official government statistics and science. BLS operates as a federal statistical agency and is afforded autonomy to ensure the data it releases are as accurate as possible. To politicize the work of the agency and its workers does a great disservice not only to BLS, but to the entire federal statistical system, which this country has relied on for almost 150 years. Well, am I still transmitting audio even? Because I'm worried about the technical problems now. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, no, I'm still talking, and it still seems like it's capturing something about the game. Okay. Okay, anyway, let's continue. So we firmly stand behind the BLS, Commissioner McIntyre, and the data they work hard to produce. Commissioner McIntyre is a widely respected economist who has devoted her career to public service. She has an impeccable record. Over 90% of U.S. senators supported her confirmation. Back in 2024, I believe. We call on Congress to respond immediately to investigate the factors that led to Commissioner McIntyre's removal, to strongly urge the Commissioner's continued service, and ensure that the nonpartisan integrity of the position is retained. The statement from the President undermines these tenets and politicizes data which cannot and should not be used for political points. The Friends of BLS co-chairs signed this. It was William Beach, Erica L. Goroshin, and Paul Schroeder. The Friends of BLS steering committee members Tom Beers, Demetra Nightingale, Mary Jo Mitchell, Ken Poole, Steve Pearson, and Aaron Sojourner also signed it. This also reminds me of a little-known quote from page 51 of 1984 that everyone should be aware of. But actually, he thought as he readjusted the Ministry of Plenty's figures, no, it was not even forgery. It was merely to distribute the substitution of one piece of nonsense for another. Most of the material that you were dealing with had no connection with anything in the real world, not even the kind of connection that is contained in a direct lie. Statistics were just as much a fantasy in their original version as in their rectified version. A great deal of the time you were expected to make them up out of your head. For example, the Ministry of Plenty's forecast had estimated the output of boots for the quarter at 145 million pairs. The actual output was given as 62 millions. Winston, however, in rewriting the forecast, marked the figure down to 57 millions, so as to allow for the usual claim that the quota had been overfulfilled. In any case, 62 millions was nowhere near the truth than 57 millions, or than 145 millions. Very likely no boots had been produced at all. Likelier still, nobody knew how many had been produced, much less cared. All one knew was that every quarter astronomical numbers of boots were produced on paper, while perhaps half the population of Oceania went barefoot. And so it was with every class of recorded fact, great or small. Everything faded away into a shadow world, in which, finally, even the date of the year had become uncertain. A haunting example of what happens when a regime doesn't care about anything but its own survival, such that good news is the only thing allowed in. This leads to the dictator's dilemma. People don't want to give you bad information or you'll fire/kill them, but the information they do give you to make quotas, such as arrest of immigrants in SoCal being considered by a court for blockage, is inaccurate, so you're unable to predict failures. Anyway, Savonarola was swiftly appointed by the Florentine Senate as an envoy to King Charles, whereupon the king and his generals seemed much impressed by Savonarola's menacing words and to have full belief in them. In fact, it was the general feeling of the French that they were divinely guided to fulfill the Lord's work.
We must. To arms, to legs, to ears, to breasts. Not finished. Not finished.
Oh boy.
You'll have to find some way to get through to surgery and Steinman.
Oh right, yeah, I gotta get the
The Lord hates a quitter.
telekinesis.
I can hear that splicer sounding off like it's the 4th of July. Explosives are hard to come by down here, but if you get your hands on one of them telekinesis plasmids, you can catch the damn firebombs and toss it right back in its gob, or anything else that might be standing in your way.
Okay, time to hopefully find any hypo on her. Or just more bullets, I guess. That's cool.
That's all your type is good for!
Hey! Not fair. I'm also good for shooting you in the face. Anyway. Oh, crap. That's not good. Like, at all. I have no health kits now. Fun. Come on. Wow, I'm really handing on my skin of my teeth here. Nothing? Really? For machine gun rounds? Ah.
Please.
Come on. Get in front of the turret. Here we go. Boy. A lot deadlier when you're not in a suit able to fight them. Oh crap. No. Oh. God. Not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. Okay, you know what? Fine, do it. Throw the grenade. See if I care. Ah! Actually, I kind of do. Oh boy. Oh, nuts. Okay, well. Yeah, I'm glad I actually kept the Vita Chambers on for this part, but, yeah, so basically, the Savonarola came back with good news that the war was over, and with that kind of political capital and the fact that he seemed to predict the future, his voice was attended by growing crowds, and his followers became a faction nicknamed the Weepers because they flaunted intense emotion. The Weepers included women as well as men. The majority of the listeners depicted in a 1496 woodcut of him preaching the Duomo are women. He spoke of a sword in the sky, and this is again from Jonathan Jones of The Guardian. But despite the torrid language, his political demands were creative. He preached popular government. The Constitution adopted by the Florentine Republic under his influence made it the most representative state in Renaissance Europe. Now that's how you toss out a dictator. By making your own alternative. Yeah, he and his faction sound like a post-apocalyptic gang, and they participated in one of the most heinous destructions of hundreds of pieces of art until the rise of Adolf Hitler, in my opinion. The Bonfire of the Vanities. This was according to Smithsonian Magazine. Please stick around, education needs you, Smithsonian Foundation. This was preceded by weepers burning down the bank of the Medici in 1494, when he subsequently turned his attention to art, on February 7th, 1497, because he wanted Florentines to, quote, save themselves through self-censorship. Botticelli's The Birth of Venus survived, but hundreds of pieces didn't. The website for a local tour company named Freya's Florence Tours also describes how non-Christian books and art... Okay, well, attack that. Ooh, that is a hard hack. I should have used the auto hack on that instead. Any chance there's something else over here? Armor-piercing pistol rounds. That'll come in handy for the Big Daddy more, but... Man, I am in a tight spot. That's why I've been kind of chilling, trying to catch my breath a little bit. Anyway, so, non-Christian books and art, drawings and paintings, and objects of earthly passion and distraction such as cards, precious fabrics, makeup, and wigs were also burnt in the square on a platform made of 7 steps, symbolizing the 7 vices. On the other hand, she also explains that he expanded the government from 500 to 1,500 people. Savonarola had consolidated his own power, while his ascendant thought he could be a tin pot from the mainstream and did not expect the pushback to stop him. Which took the form of his opponents calling Savonarola and his followers snivellers. Nice turn on weepers there. I love that energy, and people should be taking notes, since that kind of inversion of a dictator's message messes with their hold over the people who are not in the cult, but just trying to survive. But what really did him in was the wrath of Borgia Pope Alexander VI after multiple excommunications, and he was arrested by Florentine authorities at St. Mark's on Palm Sunday, 1498, and then, with 2 friars, who were among his most ardent followers, Fra Domenico and Fra Silvestro, cruelly tortured before being condemned as heretics, and handed over to the secular arm by 2 papal commissioners who came hot foot from Rome, for the purpose on 19 May. We shall have a fine bonfire, the senior commissioner remarked genially on arrival, for I have the sentence of condemnation with me. Okay, here we go. Oh. So, the article from History Hit continues that Fra Silvestro and Fra Domenico were hanged first. Slowly and painfully, before Savonarola climbed the ladder to the place between them. This is how good I am at this game, is what I'm hoping I can tell myself. Okay. Alright, here we go. You know what? Let's just do that. Okay. Yeah, well, we got 2 of those pieces, and... Okay. Done. Okay. I mean, I still have no money, so that doesn't really help me, but still, I'm an elite hacksaws. So the executioner made cruel fun of Savonarola and then apparently tried to delay his demise so that the flames would reach him before he was quite dead, but failed. Savonarola died of strangulation at about 10 a.m. He was 45 years old. With the piles of... Oh, this was on the 23rd of May, by the way, that he died. With the piles of wood below the scaffold set alight, the flames quickly engulfed the 3 dangling bodies, while a trick of the heat made Savonarola's right hand move, so that he seemed to be blessing the spectators. Some of them had burst into tears, but others, including excited children, sang and danced delightfully around the pyre and threw stones at the corpses. What little was left of the 3 Dominicans were thrown into the river Arno. Oh, wait, what? Finally, you're toast. Okay. Don't want to deal with you right now. Let's see. Oh, the Eternal Flame Funeral Home. Yeah, I do need that. Okay. Let me think. How do I get this? I'll just, here's hoping that I can do this. Okay, well, at least he's gone now. Crap. Oh, I think he blew himself up. Oh, that was very Piero the Unfortunate. Oh. Just turned into paste immediately. Ouch. Surgery's Picasso, huh? How about surgery's Leonardo? Oh, well, that's a different art critique. I hadn't even really considered this, because I was thinking about general Rapture themes, but it's nice to have these specifics as well. I can see how you would get tired of that. Indeed. Okay, well. Interesting how you can have art be a perversion by just focusing on something, on just aesthetic as good in of itself, without considering the ethics of it with people. Again, I'm glad that Leonardo and Michelangelo experimented on corpses, even if it was a little yucky. But, well, Florence got what it wanted, an alliance with France and the Papal States, and Florentines tried to collect some of Savonarola's ashes as relics. So they were thrown to the Arno, though his cult continued for centuries. Back to the author of the most infamous book of power, Machiavelli mostly does not criticize Savonarola's message, but observes what happened next in chapter 6 of The Prince. If Moses, Cyrus, and Romulus had been unarmed, they could not have enforced their constitutions for long, as happened in our time to Fra Girolamo, Savonarola, who was ruined with his new order of things. Immediately, the multitude believed in him no longer, and he had no means of keeping steadfast those who believed, or of making the unbelievers to believe. Therefore, such as these have great difficulties in consummating their enterprise, for all their dangers are in the ascent. Yet with the ability they will overcome them, but when these are overcome, and those who envied them their success are exterminated, they will begin to be respected, and they will continue afterwards powerful, secure, honored, and happy. Unless they end up being tin-potted, and then they get stopped. Meaning, as I explained last time, anytime anything is pushed to the mainstream, there will always be a backlash. And if there's backlash, the only way you can stamp out resistance is with concessions to the people, being popular, or overwhelming force. Savonarola definitely did not do either. Anyway, seeking to assert its strength as an independent city-state, once again, the Restored Republic commissioned Michelangelo to sculpt David out of a 17-foot slab of marble no one knew what to do with, which he began sculpting on September 13, 1501. Up. Nope, no you don't. Then I get over here. While I continue talking. So basically, he started sculpting this in September 1501, and then veiled it to the public in June 1504, whereupon everybody became a critic, including by wanting the fig leaf over David's genitals and the naked figures in the Sistine Chapel covered up. But according to the Blood and the Beauty, Michelangelo's, well, that was eventually, later on in his career of the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo's David, a monumental marble sculpture with near a chisel mark anywhere to be found according to the Blood and the Beauty, showcases mastery of direct carving and his ability to infuse inert matter with emotion and thought. It was also, of course, a direct reference to the David and Goliath story, a way for tiny Florence to declare that it would stand alone against the Medici if they tried to come back. And I get under here, and then... Okay. Well, so the competition escalated between Leonardo and Michelangelo when the Republic commissioned them to paint frescoes depicting key battles in Florentine history, setting the stage for a battle of artistic wits and styles. This was part of their rivalry that drove their creative pursuits throughout their entire careers. Come on, hopefully I'm not, like, hitting an alarm. There we go. I hope I get Hacker's Delight real soon. That's a crucial thing because it gives you health back when you hack, which you do a lot in this kind of playthrough anyway. To have a lot of the hard work taken care of for you by machines. Guess we all want that. Sometimes. And boom. Hacked. Okay. So, Raphael then arrived in Florence and quickly gained recognition, making it a three-way with Leonardo and Michelangelo. Leonardo, after experimenting on a new oil painting technique, failed. Poor guy. I really felt for him in that moment, and so did Michelangelo in the documentary. When Leonardo fled Florence in disgrace, Michelangelo, lacking competition, sought inspiration from past artists and then left Florence for Rome, where he was commissioned by Pope Julius II to create a monumental tomb. That then ended up changing to a series of paintings. Oh yeah, right, now I remember. That happens. You get hits. Ah, that's how you get Hacker's Delight. I see. Okay. Anyway. So, the biggest example from the documentary being The Last Judgment, that's ultimately led to the painting of the Sistine Chapel ceiling, which took 4 years and had 300 life-size figures on it, plus had to be redone due to mold in the paint from the different climate of Rome. Michelangelo initially resisted the task, believing painting was not his forte. However, he embraced the challenge, seeing it as an opportunity to prove his superiority, and then it nearly broke him. But for $600,000 in today's money, and amidst competition from younger artists like Raphael, Michelangelo's determination grew, and led him to expand the scope of his work and strive for perfection. I mean, I've been there. Perfectionism can be a real drag. Especially when sometimes it's okay that things weren't perfect because you learned something. Oh crap. Nope. Oh right, yeah, I need to get in here. I'm safe now, at least. There we go. Oh, that would be bad if I died literally from cigarettes right now. Okay. Light up your foes with a snap of your fingers. Come on. Step on the oil slick. There we go. Oh, that's a terrible way to go. Sorry about that. But it was you or me, so I chose me. Because otherwise the game would end. And I have to reload at a fire chamber anyway. So yeah, it ended up being so strenuous to paint the Sistine Chapel that he hid under the Medici chapels for 2 months. Then was captured and handed over to Julius, who forgave him. After that, people flocked to see the ceiling, after which, for his mastery of drawing, design, sculpture, painting, and architecture. He was called Il Divino, the Divine One, by his contemporaries. His powerful imagery and dazzling technical virtuosity transported viewers and imbued all of his works with a staggering force that continues to enthrall us today. Finally. At least I have some ammo for the shotgun when that becomes relevant. I mean, I'm definitely not making it through Medical Pavilion tonight at this pace, but I don't want it to be so fast-paced anyway. I want to absorb the atmosphere a little bit sometimes. I know there's something around here that's machine gun related, I think. Yes! Yes, alright. Much needed. Especially since fire is best against splicers a lot of the time. Just the slow damage over time, for sure, is the big thing. I don't know why I feel the need to save since I do have the Vita Chambers now, but I just sort of do. I have beaten this game without the Vita Chambers, though, but that was when I was completely focused on just the game, instead of trying to talk about history as well. Still, I am very appreciative that I get to talk about this in my favorite game because it allows me to really think about where power and art can intersect. Anyway. Unfortunately for Florence, according to the paper The Medici Restoration, the Florentine Papal Tandem, the restoration of the Medici what happened in 1512 after 18 years of exile. Immediately thereafter followed the election to the papacy of Cardinal Giovanni de' Medici, son of Lorenzo the Magnificent. Leo's election raised his mercantile family to international status and afforded the Pope a means to secure strategic marriage alliances with the French royal family. With 1532 came the final ennoblement of the Medici as Dukes of Florence, later Grand Dukes of Tuscany, with the right of hereditary succession. With the coming of the duchy, all the arts, including music, were leveraged to create a sense of dynastic purpose and a oneness of identity to the Medici family. With the city of Florence, l'état c'est moi, in the words of the distant Medici relative King Louis XIV of France. I actually didn't know that until I looked this up, which is why I love researching history so much. Stupid fly. Anyway, meanwhile, for Rapture, the artistic inspiration for its 20s-style economic optimism comes from Art Deco, and this is an example of how to affirmatively put forward your message with an artistic vision, of strength, of reliability, of this is man's labor, and there are no gods, no kings. They're the only ones out there capable of making decisions for themselves, and only for themselves, only man. I mean, this is no surprise given that the game was inspired heavily by New York's Rockefeller Center. I also highly recommend this video, just in its entirety, talking about the art style of BioShock at length for like 26 minutes. That's linked right there with the Rockefeller Center bit. Anyway, Ryan used art to glorify his own stature, no surprise, obviously with the statue of himself at the beginning, but also the swooping figures on the bathysphere, as I mentioned. Hello again, whale. And as a result, his philosophy, that again, the great men make history. Of course, the irony being that old Andy boy was a drunken and out-of-touch lout who showed just how much of a hypocrite he was when it came to Jasmine Jolene, a dancer from one of Sander Cohen's Broadway musicals, who you heard in New Year's Eve Alone. That was actually inaccurate. I really thought it was Jasmine, but it was Diane McClintock. Yeah, nope, that was my bad. HistoryFlights Productions regrets the error when it comes to BioShock lore. So she Jasmine ended up being brutally murdered by Andrew when she sold her baby to Frank Fontaine, his business rival, who ended up becoming Atlas in disguise. Ironically, to have Jack Ryan's age accelerated to possibly mid to late 20s, and when he was 3, and the YWK, or Would You Kindly program, planted in his head and then activated to make him kill Andrew. This is where the spoiler is. But this game, again, is almost 20 years old. So, sorry if I spoiled it, but play it for yourself anyway. Old Jackie Boy was raised on a farm in Kansas with false memories, though, so he probably didn't have much appreciation for his dad's artistic taste. And, With that, the coup... Okay, it's time to move on now to another dictator and his appreciation for art. Or the family appreciation. Art and education. But yeah, the coup of 18 Brumaire that established Napoleon Bonaparte's dictatorship and ended the French Revolution took 2 days from November 9th to 10th, 1799. With Bonaparte bursting into the Council of 500 accompanied by armed grenadiers on 19 Brumaire because the Directory had lost the trust of nearly the entire country, and Napoleon was a popular and brilliant war hero with multiple victories in Italy and Egypt. Anyway, when Napoleon invaded Italy, sensing a theme with this poor peninsula, he consolidated his own influence by opening the first Louvre as the Musée de Napoleon, and ordering the Italian statues he conquered to hand over artworks that were the pride of the peninsula. The Vatican was emptied of the Laocoon, a masterpiece of ancient Greek sculpture, and Venice was stripped of Veronese's 1563 painting The Wedding Feast at Cana. He also stole the lands of St. Mark that he stole from Venice, who rightfully stole it from the Byzantines in 1204. It's like 6 degrees of Byzantium with me sometimes with history. As I've demonstrated, authoritarianism knows how to use art, such as in the case of the recent tweet including the painting American Progress on whatever the fuck X is now, but not necessarily appreciate its aesthetics if they don't serve the regime, or appreciate where it's supposed to be other than perhaps having the whole art world in your capital. The comment I made a year ago on Napoleon also feels very prescient. That's another camera. Could also be a turret. Yeah, there's definitely a turret here. Okay. She must be fighting with the turret. Yes, I did it. Got him without any telekinesis. Feeling pretty good about myself there, even though I should have gotten telekinesis first for sure. Let's see. Anyway. So it's great. I said that it was great that you, the commenter above me on Reddit, bring up the French Revolutionary calendar, because even after the institution of an emperor atop the Republic in 1804 by the Constitution of the year 12, approved by a rigged plebiscite, oh man, that poor corpse just stuffed under the desk like that. Anyway. If I recall correctly. Oh. Never mind. Incorrect. Worried about being ambushed here. For sure. But anyway. So. I had learned from Andrew Roberts' excellent Napoleon Life that the calendar stuck around until 1805. After toppling the Council of Ancients, the upper house, the Council of 500, the lower house, and the ineffective 5-man executive directory, Napoleon governed his first consul in the 5 intervening years with unimportant second and third consuls, and with a complicated system of checks and balances in the Constitution of the year 8 between a council of state that he chaired and often debated with all night, poor Trump wouldn't be able to keep up, which solely proposed laws, a legislative body that voted on but couldn't discuss laws, a tribunate that discussed but couldn't vote on laws, so splitting the legislative power in half for weird reasons. Well, obviously not weird if your goal is to have a very feeble legislature that doesn't really oppose you. But anyway, sometimes the tribunate also asked the Senate politely overturn laws for unconstitutionality. And then there was a conservative Senate, whose members served for life, interpreted constitutionality, and made senatus consultus, Senate decrees to that effect. It also appointed everyone including senators themselves, except for those, I think it was like 80 of them, that Napoleon personally appointed. That flute flowed down. Oh, this part. Gosh. Anyway, guess which one of these 4 chambers ended up being the most powerful? This conservative Senate also may remind some of a certain life-appointed court that interprets the Constitution in emergency rulings how it sees fit. Security expert, yay. Okay. Okay, there we go. At least I have an E5O. Come on, get in the water. You can do it. Okay. Shocking. Anyway. Once the people like Pierre Dauneau and Benjamin Constant started criticizing Napoleon in the Tribunate, what a coincidence. Their half of the Tribunate was purged by the Conservative Senate by Napoleon's bidding in 1802, which also ended up abolishing it by Senatus Consulta in 1807. Many of its remaining functions were absorbed into the equally useless legislative body. Sir Constant, who was exiled from France ostensibly for his affair with Madame de Staël, later wrote in 1815 in On the Sovereignty of the People while serving as a deputy in the Bourbon Restoration, "Theocracy, royalty, aristocracy, when they prevail upon minds, are the general will. But when they do not so prevail, they are nothing but farce. In a word, there exists but 2 powers in the world, one illegitimate, one that is force, the other legitimate, that is the general will. But at the same time, one recognizes the rights of this will, that is to say, the sovereignty of the people. It is necessary, it is urgent to conceive well its nature and determine well its extent. Without an exact and precise definition, the triumph of theory could become a calamity in its application. The abstract recognition of the sovereignty of the people does not increase the amount of liberty for individuals in the least bit. And if this sovereignty is attributed to a latitude that it ought not have, liberty may be lost despite this principle, or even through this principle." Fascinating to think about that. There we go. Pop goes your head. So yeah. This was also rather of a piece with how Augustus made the Curiate Century and Tribalist Emperor Augustus of Rome in 27 BCE. Made the Curiate Century and Tribal Assemblies, a long story about those, as well as the Plebeian Council and its tribune that had a veto against the consuls before, merely ceremonial in favor of a Senate stuffed with greedy rubber-stamping sycophants, which also enacted laws by Senatus Consulta after he became emperor. After all, Napoleon considered Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar his heroes. So anybody expecting Trump to completely assume absolute power for himself quickly like Hitler did is probably incorrect. And even then, Hitler still worked with President Paul von Hindenburg to pass laws and enforce various decrees stripping freedoms until his death in 1934 allowed Hitler to assume the vacant office. Trump is too dumb to set up things like the energetic and attentive and clever, albeit very sexist and impatient, just like Trump, French general, and not even the Heritage Foundation can rip up the Constitution. It's starting to feel like it. There's tears, though. However, like Napoleon's consulate and empire, there might be democracy on paper and debates in Congress, but Congress, already very unproductive this year when Republicans are in charge, will continue to fade into irrelevancy gradually under our Trump presidency, other than Republican representatives passing draconian budgets and Republican senators confirming the appointment of all sorts of crazies to dismantle the career civil service, of which I am a part, while Trump otherwise governs by executive order. I'm also betting that, just like the tribunes, Democratic congresspeople he doesn't like will face a ton of legal headaches from this DOJ, if not accidents. I mean, we've seen the arrests now. I really hope it doesn't get farther than that, but the amount of arrests of Democratic politicians is more than 0, and that is intolerable to me. Let's fill that, and... Buy out. Okay then, let's go and get like so. Oh, I got my $10 back off of a corpse. Amazing. Where's the code again? Well, anyway. And the well, oh yeah, before that. Trump may be forced to retire after 2029 by a 2-term limit, but don't be surprised if he makes sure a Trumpist wins in 2028. Either through electoral fraud or force. On the Supreme Court, the new conservative Senate will rubber stamp it all gladly while taking bribes from billionaires. This is how democracy dies, not with thunderous applause, but by gradual erosion until only the facade is left. By then, just as in Napoleon's day, people eventually won't care because the country will be stable, and they can keep living their lives as long as they don't criticize the government. The note that I had, though, is it's pretty interesting that the legislative body always heard from 3 orators appointed by the Council of State, and 3 by the tribunate before voting on laws. No filibustering here, presumably, which is an improvement over the United States. It would be pretty neat to elevate the powers of a few advisory bodies that are currently under Congress, such as GAO, so that they get to speak first, before any Congress people, when debating laws. What is this? Oh. Well, I mean, corpse cakes from a funeral from a funeral coffin. No, not fun. But tasty all the same. Way. Sworn. The code was around here somewhere. I mean, oh, you know what? I think I remember now. It's the 0451. That was what I was doing wrong. Okay, I had it mostly right. Though I'm definitely nervous about the ambiance changing just now. And machine gun rounds are also welcome. I appreciate that. So yeah, I think I've been pretty much spot on, and that's scary to me. The incompetence of how it's been gone about is the only reason we have a chance in 2026. Constitutional amendments are harder, that like actually fix this long term, and I'll have my realistic thoughts for a constitutional amendment next stream. But I've since also gone on the record to say that if I would write an amendment to the Constitution, I would suggest that the Senate have non-partisan vocational senators, like it is with the Synod in Ireland. Synod. I'm probably butchering that, I'm sorry. Meaning that scientists, universities, unions, disability rights groups, and other constituencies can elect senators who will help make the Senate slightly more representative as interstate and personal identities continue to grow and are a powerful non-partisan bloc to negotiate actual legislation. Perhaps it would help to cool off the Senate a little bit more and maybe get new states in fairly. It would also help cool off the Senate a little more, and perhaps by having the one administrative senator perhaps that sticks up for government employees and lawyers in particular, also administering legal and cognitive tests for presidential nominees or other candidates made by the other vocational senators and based on the law. Hey. The GAO should also have the only right to audit all the branches and agencies of the government as special government employees are being used unconstitutionally to replace it. I would also make it a tribunate popularly voted on from nominees made by actual government employees for merit, who could immediately veto actions for unconstitutionality as a way to check the executive. They would also get to elect 3 orators from among themselves or expert witnesses to comment on any legislative matter before Congress, because the president clearly cannot be relied on to report facts to Congress. The tribunate would be immune from prosecution for the duration of any branch of an investigation of any branch of the government as well, for fraud and such, and blocking the and it would also be blocking the South African candidates of the world. A very deliberate play on the Manchurian Candidate, which I haven't seen since college, but it's a very good movie. Anyway, not cool. Where are you? Who is shooting me? Uh-oh. Oh, so they keep respawning him. Okay. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I really should just get the telekinesis already. At least do that before I go. Well, you blew yourself up again, mister. That was not very smart of you at all. And that audio diary that I picked up also talked about how the pipes were close to bursting from ice water due to neglect in maintenance requests, and also just, yeah, no heat there. That's probably the main thing. Uh-oh. Well, time to go with nothing. Okay, that's great. Oh, no! Oh! That was close! I almost got obliterated there. Oh, no, I gotta come back with the telekinesis for sure. Well, this is the big shotgun introduction segment where I get to fight a bunch of people with that. So I'm just gonna carefully pick up the double up bucks first. And, yeah, so, I might even go so far as to give Tribunes control of the U.S. Marshals in conjunction with the court system, because again, the executive, the president, cannot be relied upon anymore. Even Napoleon's less well-known... again, this is sort of fantasy. I'll have more realistic suggestions next stream, but... even Napoleon's less well-known great-nephew, Napoleon III, would be shaking his head at all of this incompetence. He took power in a coup similarly against the National Assembly in 1852, a state that was common in France, where, according to Marx, is the 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, which was talking about this Bonaparte, not Napoleon. The executive power commands an army of officials numbering more than 500,000 individuals, and therefore constantly maintains an immense mass of interests and livelihoods in the most absolute dependence, where the state enmeshes, controls, regulates, superintends, and tutors civil society from its most comprehensive manifestations of life down to its most insignificant stirrings, from its most general modes of being to the private existence of individuals, where through the most extraordinary centralization this parasitic body acquires a ubiquity, an omniscience, a capacity for accelerated mobility, and an elasticity which finds the counterpart only in the helpless dependence, the loose shapelessness of the actual body politic. It is obvious that in such a country the National Assembly forfeits all real influence when it loses command of the ministerial posts. Seems our Senate is also ramming through unqualified nominees. And, now the big pedo man-baby wants to get rid of local senator oversight of district-level nominees, blue slips, after an unprecedented blockade of nominees by Democrats. Napoleon III was a decent domestic reformer, including legalizing striking and expanding access to education for women, but failed so hard invading Mexico that they made an entire holiday about it, Cinco de Mayo. And then got deposed after losing to Prussia in 1870, which created the Empire of Germany, one of the contributing causes of World War I. Again, he actually won wars, like the Crimean War and in Italy, unlike Charles VIII, am I right? Or against colonized populations, because of course. The Grand Marshals of the Empire would be rolling violently in their graves as well. That would be his great uncles, Marshals of the Empire, Ney and all the rest. Even Napoleon II, who was famously on the throne for 2 weeks after Napoleon abdicated and was also 4, would be a better general than anyone in the Magatur Militum. Meanwhile, President Pedo just decided to spend $200 million on a gauche gold ballroom for the White House to turn it into a worse copy of Mar-a-Lago. His taste in art is portraits of himself paid for with donations to his charitable foundation, with maybe a bust of Winston Churchill and a racist invocation of a Manifest Destiny painting. That's it. Alright. Time to throw down. Incinerate can give you a little bit more light. Whoops. Can you, like, not? Thanks. Get out of my face! Ah! This is gonna be close, but I think I can do it. Come on. Hey, come on. Where are you? I mean, the music stopped. Nope.
Don't you disrespect me! Where are you going? How dare you touch me!
Well, no! Oh! Oh, brutal! Arg! I forgot there was one more person there. Oh. Ah, that was embarrassing, but, well, still got the job done. Well, sometimes when the game doesn't have enough memory to keep all the splicers in, it just turns them into boxes, which I think is very hilarious. So yeah, unfortunately, artistic freedom of expression is eroding as states consider porn bans. The Senate takes up the floundering COSA again, and buy out. So, and YouTube rolls out age verification if the AI sees your viewing patterns as childish. Ugh. Yet there will always be other websites people will go to get their jollies. Just like there will always be underground websites for buying drugs or crypto, for example. That last one the government is totally okay with, apparently. I also remember anonymous nation-states forums, where part of how I expanded upon my social skills when I was an autistic teenager included being the prime minister of a fake government. My term was unpopular due to my entangling of our nation in a regional alliance, and started to explore my gender identity. I fear for the inability of queer kids to find community anonymously amidst all this nanny-state protectionism. 1984 is always the popular comparison when it comes to this, but I think Brave New World is more apt, with a stratified post-scarcity society and constant use of soma to calm the population. As long as people have opiates in the form of endless scrolling of AI slop or whatever on social media, they will use them. I also worry that as a result of both people surrendering any remaining critical thinking to machines, of just, or the long-term death of democracy, possibly even industrial civilization, due to people just not being able to maintain the systems that existed that gave us such high technology and that replaced our critical thinking. These systems are not able to be autonomous. They just aren't. Not really. Anyway. Brave New World is probably my third favorite novel of all time after Jurassic Park and The Left Hand of Darkness. It takes place in 2540, which is counted as the year after Ford, 632, since the formation of the world state, which is based on Fordism. Mass production, homogeneity, predictability, and consumption of disposable consumer goods. As well as cutting off the tops of crosses to make teas to worship. This quote from the book Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman really demonstrates my point excellently. What Orwell feared most were those who were banned books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. Orwell feared those who would deprive us of information. Huxley feared those who would give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egoism. Orwell feared that the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared that the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Orwell feared we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture, preoccupied with some equivalent of the feelies, the orgy-porgy, and the centrifugal bumble puppy, whatever that means. As Huxley remarked in Brave New World Revisited, the civil libertarians and rationalists who are ever on the alert to oppose tyranny fail to take into account man's almost infinite appetite for distractions. In 1984, Huxley added, people are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they are controlled by inflicting pleasure. In short, Orwell feared that what we hate will ruin us. Huxley feared that what we love will ruin us. Oh, crap. I knew there was something about that. Okay. Oh, right, now I remember how this works. Painless dental, where I can apply some bandages, please. That'd be nice. And auto hack, just to save time. So, simply put, my hypothesis is that the Trump regime is trying to do more of the former, damaging any sense of national media with the defunding of PBS and NPR and the various punitive moves against CBS and etc. But they're mainly doing this because the president watches too much TV and wanted us talking heads to stop being mean to him, and he has nothing to replace it with but the same empty American nationalism in his orange mug. Simply put, those places are not mainstream anymore, so the administration's direct efforts to curtail televised speech, while fragmenting what remains of a national media environment in ways that concern me, are unlikely to death nail free speech by themselves. Curtailing Section 230 would also be far too unpopular with the techno-feudal oligarchs. Harvard considering settling like cowards when I looked up to them as a symbol of resilience for $500 million, or the Smithsonian removing his impeachments from their displays temporarily. I mean, apparently they're gonna, as of recording this, they just changed their minds and they're gonna restore it in a few weeks, but I'm gonna keep on top of them. If they don't have a proper explanation, I may even file a FOIA request. Anyway, the oligarchs are the ones taking the latter approach, numbing us with bread and circuses with only one goal: to get you to keep buying and viewing garbage as long as possible. I don't watch TikTok anymore, but sometimes when my job at Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was put on judicial life support, wears on me, or the research needed from my series of live-streamed manifestos fearlessly criticizing the regime gets overwhelming, in my free time, after work, I find myself numbed by lots of background noise YouTube videos. Sometimes of random celebrities I didn't know or care about, but then got hooked on, suddenly wondering where the time went. With going out expensive, I just had an amazing time finding that out at Vauxhall, DC's only Russian restaurant with a new Russian friend. People not getting much time off of work to vote, with polls closing at 7. I've heard this directly from voters who I like, hey, I would love to get your vote, and then they were like, I would love to vote, but I have work. Electric is also awesome. I'm gonna save that for the Big Daddy as much as possible, though. Oh, I know who you are. You can't have that surprise fool me. But it can be a bit of a jump scare still, so I'm just gonna grab it. I'm gonna wait for that to explode. There we go. Nice safe room to think for a little bit. Yeah, so I wonder how many millions more will ultimately let our democracy succumb to brain rot because they're tired. As for the pandemic, that started that widening rift and our real addiction to the internet as a species. I think public health officials and scientists were responding quickly to a fast-moving virus and made mistakes because of that. We should have had access to beaches and public parks where everybody could be 10 feet apart, not 6. And we should have just all masked up a little bit for a month or two, instead of having inconsistent masking and reopening policies across states. But that was because Trump literally decided to shrug and let it be a blue state problem, while insisting on bleach, horse dewormer, and sunlight. How swiftly people forget that kind of thing. And a bunch of online kooks refused to get the vaccine, even when he said to, because he made it. So that's one moment where he had, like, the first moment before Epstein, where he started to show a little bit of a slip from his cult, but he was like, okay, well, do whatever you want then, when it comes to that, because that was the easy way out, and he doesn't have that with Epstein, but I will get to that. Okay, door control. Oh yeah, back to there. Cool. So yeah, sometimes governments must have more powers over civil liberties to fight deadly diseases. The vaccines weren't effective because of inconsistency. I mean, they were effective for the people who took them, but like not effective at curtailing, destroying the pandemic forever. Whereas in 1919, we threw all the anti-maskers in jail, and then they learned their lesson. Not like I'm giving the Wilson administration flowers for much else, and that was on top of their authoritarian impulses to crush speech during World War I at any cost. That's for next stream, though. Okay, well, let me just... Oh, yeah, I need the dental office key. Duh. Where is that again? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. Speedy hacker, there we go. Wham! Nice try. Plasma inside the paint. Yeah. That allows Steinman to do more body modification horror stuff. Alright, here goes nothing. The online nature of the Epstein files uproar is actually working beautifully for the American people, though, as there is an actual government conspiracy to potentially pardon a convicted sex offender for dirt on uninvolved Democrats. Where is this stupid key? Well, I'll keep looking for it. Anyway, as a convenient excuse for the purge of all of his political opponents that he clearly wants. It's not clear what, if anything, people could actually do to stop him other than just being really angry and getting him to back off. But if he decided to pardon Ghislaine, that's his prerogative, and he'll have to deal with the political backlash of that. Anyway, I'm shocked that this has triggered on President and Anchor and Trump from Americans of both parties and softening support among the young people he lied to on their favorite podcast in 2024. If you asked me a year ago, I would have said that this was buried once the fictional tale Trump spun of Democrats secretly colluding to murder Epstein in prison in a nothing burger, became a nothing burger that was no longer useful to him. But the changing stories and Trump's continued anger at it has summoned the Streisand principle and the ghost of one of his best friends and bitterest stealers of teenage masseuses for the ultimate revenge. And my position on the merits? I think it's unlikely that Epstein was murdered. But I want all the redactions removed and all the footage released and stuff, except for anything containing personal information of victims. Whether they are Democrats or Republicans, all who took those flights and raped children must be punished! And you know what? Former or questioning MAGA people disillusioned over this? Welcome to the party. My DMs are open on Reddit if you'd like to reflect and vent. Without any further ado, you know what? Let's see. I'm just going to turn everything on. Yeah, there's the objective arrow. I need that. Again, if I had been really focusing and been like, aha, then oh, there we go. This is where you get the IC. Okay. Well. Oh no, more about the Germans. While I think about how to start off the Epstein files. I'm gonna be going through as many of them that have been leaked or released as possible. Please share this information around to make sure it's not lost. It will also be put in the description on YouTube. Oh boy. Once you start making yourself and your science above ethics, this is what happens. The pursuit of profit over reliability and actual benefit to humanity from these things. Okay, well, I think the one that I want to replace now that I've used the incinerate twice for the ice is incinerate.
Throw objects at foes. You can even catch grenades
Oh,
and throw them
yep.
back.
Time to throw the Epstein files back in Trump's face. So you use X to drop, pro tip. Okay, here we go. Let me try that again.
Clinical trial lot 23, Dr. Suchong, client Fontaine Futuristics. Work on telekinesis plasmid proceeding well. Lifting objects at distance presents no problem. Moving objects
Cool.
to space, no problem. Cannot stop speeding bullet, but can catch and throw faster moving object. Problem not with plasmid.
Use case. Ow! I set myself on fire with my own exploding splicer. Oops. Hopefully there's not anybody else around here, so I can just kind of chill in this area for a little bit. Ooh! This is what you use the auto hack for. There we go. Awesome. Oh, that's quite a lot of dosh. I need to buy some things with that. Oh, the consumerism is taking over my mind even now in Rapture. Since there really is no real economy. There's nobody actually buying other than machines and selling things other than machines. How ironic. Anyway, for the Epstein files. There are verified court documents. There's the verified pre-Bondi book of contacts with Trump's name on page 80 of the PDF. That doesn't by itself prove wrongdoing, but the first step in the chain of evidence is that there are several names circled witness or modeled for apartment, including President Pedo, which sure sounds like code for prostituting teenagers since he only ever had underage models, Epstein. The person who originally released the book confirms this in a video. There's also the flight logs, a court filing by a woman named Katie that the pedos and did pedo things to her together when she was 13, and that last one hasn't been proven in the court of law, but I find her testimony on YouTube credible. Here's more Epstein docs, just linked in the description. Here's pedo admitting to peeping on 14 to 15-year-old girls while changing in modeling competitions he owned at around 140 on the Howard Stern radio show. He also said to Stern, I have a deal with Ivanka. She's 17 and doing great. Ivanka. She made me promise, swear to her, that I would never date a girl younger than her. So as she grows older, the field is getting very limited? Ew. Like, why would you even say it like that at all? Ugh, I want to vomit my brain into the toilet for having ever read that or spoken those words out loud, said by a president of the United States. Ugh. President Pedo's modeling agency was probably part of Jeffrey's pipeline. A full timeline is attached. Will Epstein bring him down on his own? No. I don't think so. Not unless Congress is willing to impeach him over it. And time again, the Republican Party, that once impeached Clinton over lying about a blowjob, has been willing to suck off dear leader's tiny syphilitic mushroom in exchange for carve-outs for their constituents at blue states' expense. This could likely mean a crash out shortly after the midterms, after the Democrats win, based on the two issues he hasn't been able to turn into fake news, alternative facts soup, or can't obscure reality on. The economy, stupid, and the Epstein files. The economy, as I explained earlier... Oh, whoops. I forgot you were there.
Quick, someone shut that door!
Bye. I don't want to play catching grenade tennis forever, though. Oh, I think you accidentally blew yourself off that one, bud. But I do need to purchase items myself and apply bandages. There we go. Okay, well, at least I can see what I'm actually purchasing over there. Really need that. And then, like, maybe some pistol rounds. There we go. That'll clean me out a little bit. Okay, well. Okay, and again, like, okay, so the economy, as I explained earlier, is taking a lot of hits to anyone who buys anything. Apparently there's something called, I just learned about this and wasn't able to put it in my script, but there's something called cheapflation, where actually the expensive items are getting cheaper overall, and cheaper items are getting more expensive. This kind of tracks, because, like, I was able to sell video games to be able to help pay for my Nintendo Switch 2, but, you know, it's like, why is this sandwich $20? You know? That's quite the... Anyway.
You know the problem's not in your hair, it's in your genes. Hey, I don't go in for all that splicing stuff. My buddy says it's not safe. Shows you what your buddy knows. I promise to do no harm. Fresh air. Fresh air is not... They're running! Someone get them!
Okay. Clear the debris with enemy grenades. Nice. Ugh, I hate this. Ugh, this course is so... why? Symmetry. Well, yeah, we saw what he loves about symmetry so much. Anyway. So, again, Biden wasn't able to convince people inflation was being handled. When it comes to buying that old-fashioned word called groceries, people want to buy today, not next week. There are similar dynamics around the Epstein files because Trump's messaging has revolved around that. So it becomes more difficult for him to tell people not to believe their lying eyes when the tariffs shoot up prices, and to tell them that there are no files, that he was planted in the files by the Democrats, when he was the one saying to his people that he was going to release the whole Epstein files. Again, it's tricky to pivot from counterculture to mainstream and then from conspiracy theory to government. Cough, Patel, and Bogino. Goff. 2/3 of the Senate going to Democrats is unlikely, even with Republicans defending 22 seats to the Democrats' 13, so I don't think any new impeachment, if that happened, would result in a conviction. But I would be happy if we won in Georgia, Michigan, and North Carolina, took Maine while Susan Collins for Elizabeth Brown concerned, and kept all our seats so that we could create 50 to 50 times all the time to slow things down while J.D. Vance waddles over to break them. Or maybe even 51 to 49 defeats on certain remaining crazies. Or give the few remaining non-Republicans more leverage to do something more than be very concerned. Yet, despite favorable polling, the House is no foregone conclusion. Maybe I will get to this fight after all. But anyway. The fight in the House. The Texas just proposed to gerrymander 5 new Republicans for their king. This means we should not unilaterally disarm. Buy out. Okay. I'm just gonna go hide now. Okay. The fact that we have 50 states means it's very difficult to create a nationwide electoral system that feels fair to everyone, and gerrymandering in safe states, which I didn't like in Maryland elections when I lived there, as 8 out of 10 races had no opposition candidate, and is one of the reasons I became a former Democrat and registered as an independent, as well as the lack of choices in parties, are 2 widely acknowledged major contributing factors to the narrowing of political campaign dollar spend to swing states and people's increasing disinterest in democracy. However, there is some evidence to suggest that ranked choice voting may produce better outcomes, including giving more opportunities to third parties. Much too bad that amendment failed in D.C. last year. I wrote a paper on this back in college in the 2010s that I'll try to track down, comparing the ability of the Green Party in Australia to broker power in the Australian Senate, which unusually for Westminster systems has a nearly equal upper house, due to the loose way the Australian government was formed in 1901, the Commonwealth, causing the 1975 constitutional crisis, when the opposition blocked the budget in the Senate, and making for easier comparisons with the U.S. Senate, to the lack of influence independents have in the U.S. Senate. We need to fight for every seat with a lame duck to get a lame duck president with health issues and crimes dogging him, if not killing him before his term is up, simply because he expends so much political capital on this one issue that his increasingly shrinking base doesn't show up the way he needs them to in the midterms when he's already not on the ballot. The reason why this is such a painful issue, along with the dreaded economy stupid is that started feeling the pinch of inflation, he was so confident that he could deliver on this issue for his conspiracy theory, but realized that his connection to Jeffrey Epstein is all over the documents in May, and so he never undermined reality here because he hoped to benefit from it, but again, oof, okay, there we go, yeah. Again, same with the stock market once his new tariffs kick in on August 7th and the holiday season is a disaster. Well, let me just hack for a bit and then I'll get on to my next point. Oh, yeah, I remember. This slows things down nicely. Twisty pipe. I mean, I definitely prefer the more fast-paced hacking game of BioShock 2, but sometimes it is nice to be like, oh yeah, old friend, pipe dream from BioShock. Back with the flow. Anyway. Okay then. When it comes to this cat's dictator life cycle, that's part of my theory and all. Wait, what? I'm just hopeful I can get past the security camera at least. Oh boy. Nice. Where is the camera? Oh, you're dead. So are you. Okay, there we go. Really needed that back. Okay. I probably should have just taken advantage rather than healing. Oh crap! No. You're kidding. But I still have a chance. I think. Oh yeah, because the security alarm ended. That was so close! Oh my goodness. Alright, well, let's see. Okay. Trump consolidated power for this cat's life cycle after a failed coup made him go through the end of the first cat's dictator life cycle and he got a new one, not consecutively, by legitimate democratic means that we know of so far, as the supposed former NSA operative who claimed voting machines in Rockland County were hacked has been debunked by someone who could pass the plausible sounding jargon. Again, the plaintiffs have been granted their petition. Now let them prove it in a court of law. He's ascendant now because there's very little institutional appetite to do more than just wait his old ass out and give him a bunch of money while he abuses due process for anyone other than himself. He, like other dictators, though, has gotten arrogant and has made many wild swings, especially on the Epstein stuff, making him a tin pot that is likely to get in his own way and be stopped by the ravages of time and his own unpopularity by 2028, if nothing else. The past 6 months have sharpened the steel of my historical knowledge and research skills while continually building up a rage that I have never felt before that turned into the Delta Papers #1, and so I roar against tyranny in BioShock 2. This is linked below if you somehow haven't seen it, and stars Subject Delta, a big daddy who was originally a diver from the surface, turned into a genetic monstrosity without due process, now fighting for Eleanor Lamb and the other little sisters, just as I want to bring down the entire world to protect my little man. That's what being a parent is. But to review the injustices towards me and mine, and my responses to them, Declaration of Independence style. He tried to make us civil servants, or autistic people, or trans people, or whoever you are that isn't him, kowtow, until Cory Booker's filibuster drew a line in the sand and rallied this movement. He tried to create an autism registry, so we fought against it and won. Again, for now, is doing a lot of work here. He tariffed Nintendo Switch too, and that got gamers who don't normally care big mad about the price. I'm still pretty big mad about how the gaming industry and art in general is being thrown into disarray. He tried to illegally and pretextually terminate me and the entire Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and failed. And he has made my fiancé and son in Swaziland an absolute monarchy, afraid to come to the United States, where I used to know I was free. But I got to hold them for the best birthday of my life in South Africa back in May, and I will treasure that memory always. Hopefully get to see them again in October to recharge, buy my tickets tomorrow, fingers crossed for no travel ban, and thereby renew my fight for liberty. If not for myself, then for my family, you racist Oompa Loompa turd. What I worry, though, is that he feels cornered by the twin blows of this BLS report and mainstream media and other institutions. By the twin blows of the BLS report and his continual failure to provide a sufficient explanation, or distraction from Epstein, and enter what's known as the dictator doom loop, with moves like putting nuclear submarines off of Russian Arctic waters as a distraction. However, with his moves to silence his political opponents, only focused on dying mainstream media and other institutions that are badly in need of reform and the nature of communications today, we can counter him by algorithmically spreading information such as the Epstein files informations. I just have to hope they will likely be empty gestures, these gestures to silence political opponents beyond mainstream media, at least that fold under the slightest pushback from the people, which says even less about the law firms, and universities, corporations, and states that have already folded to him and his empty bluster, while humiliating him by comparison to dictators both great and terrible at their jobs, from the Byzantine emperors to Napoleon to Pietro the Unfortunate. And then if he still hasn't released the full, and again, other than victims' information, unredacted Epstein files, by September 13th, I will demand them once again for the Delta Papers 3, America's Dangerous President Warship, whilst arming people with accurate information about how the presidency has always been somewhat designed like an elected dictator, and thoughts from someone who's a huge constitutional nerd. Such a huge constitutional nerd, I designed a 3-chamber legislature for my steampunk French Empire-style government on how to amend the presidency and constitution. I'll get more on that, too, with the novel there, in the stream. So, be sure to stay tuned. If you've made it this far and you like what I say, what I've been saying about democracy, about history, about tyranny, then please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell icon. It is very hard to be making this kind of content alone in my room a lot of the time for so long, but it feels very cathartic to do that, and I'm glad people enjoy it. So, in the face of this relentless adversity and an ever-tightening grip of authoritarianism, I stand undaunted. Still employed at Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, still emboldened by both personal conviction that has allowed me to suffer the slings and arrows of ableist discrimination and the strength I draw from my friends, my family, and from all of you, the amazing audience of HistoryFlights Productions. The struggle for justice, whether it is for my family, for others who have been marginalized and maligned, or for the very soul of a fractured democracy with mixed rule of law standards, remains unfinished yet unyielding. History with its betrayals, completely true stories, and victories fuels my fire for principled resistance on behalf of the Constitution I've always loved. After a short break, the future will demand vigilance, creativity, and unwavering courage. As the tides of power shift in this would-be tired attempts to relight the law, let us remember that the arc of history, though long and often bent by those in power, can be straightened by the collective will and clear-eyed indignation of the people. My commitment, and I hope it's yours as well, whether you marched at today's earlier Rage Against the Regime Day of action, I did not, for I was carving this 15,500 plus word essay out of marble with hopefully very few chisel marks, or called your congressman, or have signed up for the general strike, is not merely survival. To quote President Thomas Whitmore from Independence Day, we are going to live on, we're going to survive, but to the reclamation and second reconstruction of a more just and accountable United States of America that lives up to its foundational principles and can be a shining city on the hill once again. One article, one challenge, one roar at a time. I am but one massive history nerd who hopes you will all join me in the fight, and I hope this paper and its sources inspire your own research into dictatorship. I am but one voice of history who will bring the wrath of history upon President Pedophile's head, and I hope you will use all your voices to do the same. And I have not yet begun to autism about presidents! But for now, it's time to hack this, buy it out for $10, and blow it up. Because I am going to finish out this stream with the Steinman bot. There we go. Okay.
What can I do with this one, Alfred?
Oh, now I can just indulge in his brutality. Ugh. Oh gosh. No, not indulge, just like be amazed at the terror of what they've constructed here. Ugly! Oh, well. Oh, crud, I forgot. A lot of the time that, the... Oh boy, this guy is not easy at all. In fact, he's incredibly cheap. Well, this is a good break in the fight in order to, hack. Because I think at some point he does come to try and take from this if you damage him enough, and he then poisons himself and dies, is the hope. Let's see. Just need one more straight piece, there we go. Oh, right. Yes. There we go. Where are you, dude? Can I just blow you up? Come on, Steinman. Why are you not doing anything, bud? Well, if he tries to come in the water, I'll shock him. That'll hopefully help. Okay, maybe he's not so stupid as I thought, but... there's got to be another... Oh, yes! There is, actually. Oh, wait, that's broken. Never mind. Okay, so... what to do here? Oh, yeah, right. First aid kit. Nice. This hack should be... oh, I forgot. Safe hacks are annoying. Because of that issue. Yeah. Gotta find a left elbow. Oh, I already have. And I need one more elbow piece down here. That'd be nice. Okay. There we go. I'm feeling a lot better about this now. Alrighty. Okay. Successful hack. Safe is unlocked. Oh! And the safe has what in it again? Ah! Much needed! Okay. Okay, now it's looking pretty good for me. So I can pretty much just zap him to death. And I win! Now I have the office key. Nice. Okay. What? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. That was all for that? Oh dear. I'll just whack it with the wrench then. I really should be using the wrench more, because it really is the most powerful weapon in the game once you upgrade it often enough, but I'm just more of a shoot people from a distance than whack them with a wrench kind of video game player. Anyway, I am getting pretty tired, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it off. But, thanks again for all your support, and, y'all have a good one.